welcome to the Hoop Collective podcast. We are kind of talking about the NBA today on our annual Friendsgiving extravaganza over the next God knows how many hours. You'll be hearing from dozens of our friends here on the Hoop Collective, but with us the whole way from New York City after he flew in from Boston this morning after seeing that great Celtics-Clippers game last night. By the way, we're doing this on Tuesday, and I mean all freaking day Tuesday. Flying in Tuesday morning into New York City from Boston is our guy, Tim Bontemps.
Hello, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.
And you'll notice, if you're watching on YouTube, that Mr. Bontemps is wearing a name tag. And I am also wearing a name tag.
It says Tim. In case I forgot my own name, I know it says Tim on it.
An official ESPN name tag, as is our man in Dallas, Band MacMahon.
Howdy, partners, but mine says Tim, doesn't say band. A band one I feel would have been a little.
We should maybe just get a permanent marker. You could just correct it. Yes, for some reason ESPN sent us name tags.
Well, and I got really excited because it's like a magnetized name tag. You put the little magnet stuff on the inside of the shirt, then you put the name tag on. But I thought the name tag was a magnet too. And I have a beer fridge that I have a whole bunch of magnets. So I thought I was adding to my beer fridge magnet collection, but nope, just a name tag.
Pretty soon, you're going to have to be keeping an eye on that beer fridge with your two sons.
They're sixth grade. Well, one thing, I keep a pretty good count on them. I know what I got in there.
Yeah, I remember my man, Zdrunas Ilgauskas. Shout out to Big Z from the Cavs and the Heat. Z is Lithuanian man. He's known to enjoy a frothy beverage. And I remember when he got married, his Lithuanian friends all pitched in and bought him a tap, on tap. And they got him pewter mugs and everything. And I go, oh, are you just like a guy who really likes draft beer? He's like, no, I just don't want my wife to know how much I had.
There you go. Now, there is so it's harder to swipe the beers because I'll notice a beer missing. The old thing of, you swipe your parents' liquor and you fill it up with a little bit of water. Now, there's on their mom's side, there's definitely a history there. There is a famous.
Oh, you never stole any alcohol before you were 21 years old.
I'm not saying I didn't, but I'm just saying there's So she was swigging on some tequila during her teenage years and would, fill it in with a little bit of water and all that. And then her dad made this huge, I forgot if it was a Christmas feast or maybe just like a feast. He's a hell of a cook. And the dessert was one of these flaming dessert things. And it was like the grand, and let me tell you, it was, and I mean, like there was a presentation here. Nothing. And there was just like a big letdown. And she didn't fess up to what actually happened until I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. For about 15 years, it was a huge family mystery. And her parents just recently came to understand what.
Well, she must have taken more than a few swigs if the bottle became basically all water.
Listen, she had her wild days. She calmed down when she met me.
That's exactly right. That's exactly how it went. All right. Thank you for joining us for Friendsgiving. Here we go. All right. We're now joined by our longtime friend, former colleague, but always in our hearts from the New Orleans Pelicans broadcast team, former ESPN colleague, Andrew Lopez. What's up, Andrew?
What's up, guys? I missed everybody.
We're so happy to have you. We have terrible, terrible, unfortunate news. You left ESPN just before they mailed out name tags.
I cannot tell you how upset I am right now, and I might have to make the Pels order me one just for old time's sake. Just see if they'll take it.
They might be ordering you a jersey with the name on the back the way that things go in there.
I may or may not have gone through shoot around one day last week. I'm just Just kind of like
they need some buys.
And then he got cut
very
might have
quickly.
been a moment where Willie Green, some of these tough nights, Willie Green looked down his bench and said, we could do worse than Lopez for 5 minutes.
I'm pretty sure Willie would rip off his quarter zip and get in
Willie. I put Willie in there to Lopez.
I am very far down the pecking list. I got 6 fouls. That's all I got. Don't ask me to do anything else.
By the way, I was at the Garden a couple weeks ago, and I was watching the end of the Nuggets Pelicans game. One of the rare good nights of the year for the Pelicans, and they go to Andrew Lopez talking to Brandon Ingram, doing the post game walk off interview in his new gig. I don't know if you guys can see here, but we got a very large turtleneck here.
Yeah.
Wow. It's a big time sartorial choice.
I mean,
I'm
on
curious
one
about
hand,
the turtleneck choice at the end of the game.
It's so that's an Antonio Daniels special. He started wearing the turtlenecks, and I may have been peer pressured into wearing turtlenecks. But I'll tell you what, I wore one last night in Indy, and it felt great because it was like 50 degrees. Wearing it that night in New Orleans, it was like 82 when I left the house. Not the best choice that I've made so far.
So please tell us the joys of upgrading to team travel versus ESPN travel.
Guys, the flight's at 2. You get to the airport at like 1:40.
Well, Ohm does that anyway.
Well, yeah. Except I always make the flight. I'm not stuck.
Yeah, you could probably.
I'm not trying to just type in the terminal and try to wait until I get in there.
Right. Like, see, the thing about it is, like, if you were on the roster, you could probably arrive at like 1:57. But because you're on the TV crew, 1:40. But
it's probably the latest I push it to. Like sometimes I'll get there early, and then you just walk on the plane. You show your little ID. You get checked sometimes. I got checked like my first 6 games because I was new. But then
and you were recognized.
Then they're like, okay, now the randomizer has shined upon me.
If you're a max player on the roster, you can show up at 2:30 for a 2:00 flight.
Hey, I don't know about that on this team. We're out by 2:10. I'm not. I don't know what teams those are. I'm out of that business.
So here among the perks of being working for the team broadcast, one, the team travel, so charters and 5-star hotels.
So hard. Just I miss my points though. God,
that's the thing.
Points.
So no Marriott points. Also,
very first world problems here, guys. Thank you, Hoops Collective listeners.
no layovers. Also gear. You've got beautiful gear. The gear,
I do have gear.
The gear situation is good, correct? Like you're taken care of in gear.
I have been taken care of in gear. That is very true. Shout out Big Shot. Got a couple of nice quarter zips. Got some polos around.
Are you gonna get baby gear? Does that come with that?
I don't know. I gotta ask around. I think so. I think there's just some discounts maybe in the team store that we can use for some baby gear.
There you go.
We do as still supporting the company with our baby gear. As we can see some Mickey and Mickey.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I mean, we're all just assuming people know, but our man Andrew Lopez left us at ESPN.
So
no, I know, but maybe not everybody knows.
To the people. We got to tell the people.
I swear to God, Bontemps makes assumptions like everybody is on top of everything that he is.
This is announced. Move on. What are we doing here?
Listen,
Lopez left
ESPN
to move back home to New Orleans, where he and his wife are expecting a child soon. Yes. We're all very excited about that, and certainly full support of you leaving our wonderful company. But the thing about it is that Lopez was one of the company's leading Disney fans. Like ESPN owned by Disney, we get certain benefits as Disney employees, including free admission to Disney parks. Lopez is a Disney. What's the appropriate term? I don't want to miscast you.
I'll take nerd. Nerd's good.
I mean, Lopez.
I think Disney adult gets a bad rep because I think it's a little bit. We're not in there, like we're not dressing up in the parks. We're not doing all that.
When you and your wife,
I think he just gave the term. I'd say he just called himself a Disney
Well, I will say
adult.
this. First off, Lopez was engaged at Disney. Is that correct? You became engaged at Disney.
Correct.
When you and your wife go to Disney, do you guys dress in the same outfit?
We did for the day, I think, after we got engaged, but we just did t-shirts. Like we don't do same.
Well, wait a
same.
minute. Typically is.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, we did it after we got engaged, and so that was like a surprise.
You're saying typically you only do typically you don't, and the t-shirt was
correct.
the one time you
correct.
did. Got it.
We did that the day we got engaged because
I thought you were saying typically we don't do anything, and then occasionally we do Mickey and Minnie costumes or something.
Yeah, no. We'll normally I like to dress very comfortable.
See, we have all these colleagues who leave us to go to work for organizations. Mike Schmitz left us to go work for the Portland Trailblazers. Royce Young left us to go work for the Oklahoma City Thunder. He's on the broadcast crew for the Thunder now. Royce, another crazy Disney fan. So I say charters and 5-star hotels or free Disney. And charters, 5-star hotels, gear, turtlenecks, working with Antonio Daniels and Joel Myers. Joel Myers, one of the iconic voices in the sport.
Not working with us. Big plus.
That is
big plus. Big plus.
When he left this Mickey Mouse operation,
here we go.
Disney stock went soaring. Disney stock went up. When he went to that Mickey Mouse organization, let me look at the standings. Oh, I got to scroll.
You don't need to do that. We don't need to talk about.
I'm hurt from scrolling so much. Yeah. Oh, there they are. There they are.
Let me introduce you guys to something called the Curse of Lopes, and this has followed me around for the last 10 years in my journalism career.
You have a third person curse.
Oh yeah, it's not my curse, but this is what we did. So we went to when I got hired that 1 year to cover Tulane here. In the first year covering Tulane, the football coach, the basketball coach, the AD, the volleyball coach, all got fired, and the baseball coach almost did go to Texas, so was hired away, David Pierce. And so that was like, oh man, that was a really bad year. And then I get hired to do LSU. This is June of 2016. So they're in the College World Series. Go to LSU
in Omaha.
Very first they don't make it there yet. This was the round before. This is the Supers. They should have been going to Omaha. They played Coastal Carolina. First 2 games I cover, LSU loses. Does not make it. Coastal goes on and wins. 5 games into my LSU football tenure, Les Miles gets fired. My first basketball season, Johnny Jones gets fired.
Former North Texas coach Johnny Jones, by the way.
Huh?
Former North Texas coach Johnny. Yes. I covered him way back in the day.
Covered LSU in the next College World Series when they were playing Florida. I do not cover anything until the final game. When I get there for the finals, they get swept by Florida. My first year with the Pels starts off great, 4-0 start. Everything's good. Then AD requests a trade. Everything goes bad.
I got to say, I came that preseason to New Orleans. I think that's probably when I met you.
Yep.
And I could just tell that season wasn't going to.
It was so crazy because it started off 4-0, and I'm like, oh man, this is fantastic. I had turned down an opportunity to go to the Orlando Sentinel that year to actually start my NBA. I was like, do I start at home? Do I start over here? And one team did better than the other. And
this explains why Wimby was over there helping Lopez pack to get his butt back to New Orleans.
So next time he goes to board the plane, they're going to be like, I'm sorry, Mr. Lopez, you're not on the list.
You're not here. Yeah,
you've just written your resignation letter.
They need him.
The organization figures it out. I don't know if I'll be back.
Not true. They need him on that list this year, baby. Right up until the lottery. That's when they need
right.
Oh no.
Yeah, Griff will be down. Griff will be at the lottery again with some.
I won't be allowed at the lottery. I won't be allowed at the lottery. That's for damn sure.
You'll be allowed in the org. That'll be the good luck. That'll be his good luck charm this time.
I will say,
Lopez, get out.
Last time I showed up at a lottery, I got a job at ESPN. So
that is true. That is a wild story. Lopez was in Chicago. We were both at the lottery in Chicago. You were in between jobs. You had been covering the Pelicans,
and had a job for the next 45 days before the buyout.
Right. So he was waiting for a buyout. We're at the lottery. The Pelicans win this lottery. Zion Williamson, obviously, was a huge star going to the Pelicans.
One of the most consequential lotteries of the last decade.
And I remember just standing there with Lopez going like, man, the Pelicans didn't win the lottery. You won the lottery today because this is a big time deal for these guys to win the lottery in the position you're in. And then sure enough, he was our colleague shortly thereafter and off to the races.
Then the Spurs won the lottery and his phone rang again.
I was on the road again.
Do you like breakfast tacos?
Yeah. It's funny because and I told people this before, like when I getting to ESPN, that was the dream. And I miss everything about it. Like the Disney stuff aside, this was what I liked. And then we, when it came down to it last summer, we had a decision to make, and it was, a family thing. And we ended up making a big decision. And that was our lottery ticket. We get back home, and this opportunity to do Sideline and host and a number of other unnamed things that are going to continue to happen here in New Orleans with the Pels and the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network, which I'm paid to say now.
Oh wow! Look at this. We're doing unpaid promos here.
I love it. I love
this. Let's go.
It's been fantastic so far, and it's been a joy to be home, and cannot wait for baby Lopez to be here, and just happy to be here now.
On the bright side, CJ McCollum and DeJounte Murray coming back very soon, and the Pelicans will have a real backcourt. So
I will say this: shout out Elfrid Payton for coming out 14 points, 7 rebounds, 21 assists last night.
I will say this: 1 week ago, Elfrid Payton was on the. You
did 21 assists last night?
I will say
21
this:
assists.
Bontemps was traveling. He had like a last-minute flight. By the way,
I was covering the Celtics game. I did not know they had 21 assists.
Bontemps wasn't on the list. When Bontemps, they announced Porzingis was playing, he scrambled to get to the airport. MacMahon, you're going to be absolved of all airport shenanigans after you hear this. Bontemps go through security. He's got his ticket checked in. I'm sorry, sir. This ticket is no good. This ticket is only good for Boston to New York. You're in New York, LaGuardia, sir. He had booked a flight from Boston to New York, and he was in New York and needed to get to Boston.
I can understand how that happens.
I stepped to the side, and 45 seconds later, I had canceled the flight, been fully refunded.
Jackson's cutting that part out. Jackson's cutting that part out. Yes, Elfrid Payton was on the street. Was on the street last week. Had not played in the NBA in 2 years. Started like 24 hours later,
correct.
Which is kind of an indication of where they're at.
I knew he signed and started. I had no idea he had 21 assists.
Was that a team record? 21 assists, Lopez?
No,
in Indy last night.
The record is actually Chris Paul had 21 once. 20 twice. Darren Collison had 20. The New Orleans Pelicans record is losing an AirPod right now. Is 25 by Rajon Rondo in a game in which he also had 2 points.
Think if Elfrid had cut his hair like 7 years ago, he could have had a 21 assist game. Think of how many assists he missed because that hair was hanging down in front of his eyes.
He was incredible last night. He really was.
Thank you so much for stopping by, Andrew Lopez. We look forward to seeing you out there on the road. Have a great holiday season.
Miss you guys. Later.
Adios, amigo.
All right, now joined by our good friend and front office insider, Bobby Marks, who's joining us from Anaheim, California. What a good company, man, just hanging out in Anaheim. Bobby, how are you?
The most happiest place, I guess the second most happiest place behind Disney World, which is Disneyland. I am in Anaheim. Good to see you guys.
Are you a Disney nerd? We have had some Disney folk on this on our Friendsgiving pod so far today.
I would put myself on a scale of 1 to 10, a 7 on from the Disney. I don't like lines though. I'm not a big line person. So
gotta get that.
Do you and your wife wear the same clothes to Disney?
No, but it's funny. This morning at breakfast, I asked my 15-year-old. Some guy had a father had the Disney ears on, and I asked him how much would I have to get paid to actually put those ears on, and he said I'd pay $100 to do it. So I said I'd probably do it for 50. So
you downgrade.
Sounds like a guy who's paying $90,000 to send his kid to USC. Got to get every dollar he can get.
I'll be back momentarily. You guys continue.
That's a different story.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
Hey, listen,
Who
when
knows what this is gonna be?
when you pay 90,000 for USC, can we get like a better football product? I mean,
They might be working on it soon. Did you ever have to spend a Thanksgiving on the road with the team, Bobby?
You know what? I don't think I ever did. You know, back in when we were good, this was probably Jason Kidd era. They used to have Thanksgiving games. The NBA used to play Thanksgiving games on which was like the TNT
Oh,
Thursday
there
night
he
game.
is.
And oh, there it is. Yes. And we used to play
For
a
the
lot of
audio
those, but
listeners, McMahon's got a goofy hat on.
I
just so
don't think
people
I
know.
ever I don't think I ever had to do Thanksgiving on the road, which I am fortunate for.
I had to do Thanksgiving on the road because of the Nets several times, including flying to Houston the day of on Thanksgiving Day after the infamous Tyshawn Taylor, Jason Kidd
Oh, the
Sodagate
the
game, because that was the
Sodagate.
night before Thanksgiving. And I flew to Houston day of to be at the game there the next day.
Well, you guys know I covered the Cowboys for a while, so it's always obviously a home thing.
Yes.
And I'll tell you what, Jerry can't run a football front office, but the man can put on a Thanksgiving spread. I can promise you that.
Bobby, speaking of the Nets, they're winning a lot. They're winning too much.
Mm-hmm.
What are they going to do?
You know, it's funny. The Nets Daily, which is a website, and Tim knows this. Well, you guys know as well. That covers them. They had like tweeted out something this morning about like the 5-alarm fire. We're winning too many games. Cooper Flag, Dylan Harper, the whole thing. And I said, listen. And I never really respond to people, but I said, listen. It all takes care of itself down the road. Like it all eventually. It all like they've got so many injuries right now. I mean, when you look at that roster too, though, like I'm it's stunning what they were able to do in Golden State Monday night, and certainly Sacramento is another 5-alarm fire, which is probably I think that's the next team that has the player only meeting probably with them losing four in a row. But yeah, I mean. Brooklyn, I think eventually they'll probably be sellers at the deadline, but you ask yourself, are you like where Utah was? And Tim knows that, right? Tim knows that like you're 500. Like if you're at a certain point, even if you want to go in the tank, which is basically trading off players, and then like it gets you where to 8, 7.
Well, and this is the exact situation the Jazz have been in for the last couple of years, and especially 2 years ago, because again, first-time head coach. Who the great news is, like Will Hardy a couple of years ago, Jordy Fernandez is showing people, listen, this guy is a really good coach.
He's been the coach of the year so far. I know the Cavs are 17-1. The fact that this Nets team is 500, like he's done an unbelievable job.
And so that's the good news. The bad news is really good coaches still need really good players to have a chance to really win. And obviously, the whole point of what they did in the offseason was to position themselves to benefit.
I mean, this is extraordinary actions. So in the case of the Jazz, this year, the Jazz are pretty much openly tanking.
Sure.
The last 2 years, the Jazz were pretending like they weren't tanking. And then they got to the trade deadline, traded a bunch of guys, and they're like, actually, we're tanking.
But it was too little too late. And so that's how you end up with the 8th pick.
That's why I'm saying, what are the Nets going to do to make it not too little too late?
Well, the thing about it too on the other end is with the way the lottery odds have changed. Like a few years ago, it was basically slanted to where you really needed to be one of the worst couple teams to make sure you had a super high chance of getting the number 1 pick. Now, honestly, there's not that big of a difference between being 4th or 5th in the record and being 8th or 9th. Like the odds they're not completely flat, but it's pretty close. So if you're not going to be one of the 1 or 2 worst teams in the league, which the Nets probably were never going to be quite that bad, then I just don't think it ultimately matters all that much, because at the end of the day, you're relying on a pretty healthy dose of luck, regardless, whether you finish 9th or 4th. And if you're, if you're Utah the last couple of years, if they had jumped up in the lottery from 8th or whatever, we'd be talking about them in a much different story. They just didn't. And, it's like when Zion and Ja went 1 and 2, and the Pelicans and Grizzlies, I think, were 8th and 9th in the lottery and jumped up to 1 and 2. Like, that's But under the new system, you kind of just have to be in the top 8 and then do a lot of praying when you get to lottery.
But here's the thing in the Eastern Conference though, like where Brooklyn is, they might be like the 6th seed. I'm saying that jokingly, and I know, like, but listen, like, the most fascinating thing in the East is going to be what the records are for 9 and 10. Like, you might be 32-50 and be the 9th and 10th seed in the Eastern Conference. Like, you're like those positions. What we should do is you engrave like things on benches. You should do that. Here lies the Chicago Bulls and the Atlanta Hawks, right? Like, as far as where those two teams are going to be, because if you're just, where you could go 10 games under 500 after the All-Star break and still kind of find yourself there, and then you're picking 12 or you're picking 11. And
well, the Hawks are going to be in the play-in no matter what, because the
there's no incentive.
Yeah, that's right. They have nothing to do but try to win games. And look, the way things are going in Philly, we have to start talking about them having a real chance of just packing it in and trying to keep their top 6 pick.
Top Sixers.
Hey,
Bobby, seriously. So Embiid is ruled out for Wednesday. I don't know that there's. I mean, I can't take any more of this Clippers East stuff. This is like Kawhi all over again, where you have no idea whether there's an actual injury. They didn't announce an injury. Next thing you know, he's just out for multiple games. He is not going to play on Wednesday. Paul George is not going to play on Wednesday.
Paul today said he hopes to play. That's a good shake. Again, for the audio listeners, McMahon has made the goofy face just his whole screen and shaking his head.
That's the only way you can evaluate the 76ers at this point.
That is correct. Paul George said today he hopes to play sometime in the next week. Hopes to play sometime in the next week.
So, Bobby, how many games are they going to get below 500 before you start just saying we got to try to get top 6 here?
Well, and I think, and I heard Brian, you on Friday, I think when you were talking about New Orleans as far as like a gap year, I think it's easier for Philly to take a gap year than it is New Orleans, because I think eventually like the Pelicans players will eventually come back, right? Like, you're thinking, we already saw CJ, DeJounte Murray, Ingram, Zion, like that group, like they're a little bit too talented, I guess, to be really, really bad.
The only thing I would say is they will all come back for sure, except for the one guy.
Yeah. Zion.
Yeah.
The Sixer team might just be bad, though.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you might say, like, you know what? Hey, we're gonna like MB gets shut down, and then we're basically, who knows? Paul will be in and out. We still have Maxey, and then like everyone else is like,
they have no size. They're going to be starting Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCain going forward. McCain's been a great story. We've talked about him, but neither of those guys are guarding people on the perimeter. So you have no size in the paint. You have no perimeter defense in your starting lineup. They're starting Gershon Yabusele, who again has been their one other good player besides McCain the first month of the season. Like, it's not hard to construct a picture where if these guys are not playing, that this team just continues to lose games. And we've been joking the whole time that, yes, they're in the East. Yes, they have time. I was looking at our projections today. It's got them down to 10th in the East and 37 wins. And like every game they play and they lose, it just plummets faster. Like even 37 wins, that's them playing at an over 500 pace over the rest of the season. I don't know how you could have watched this team over the past month and say they're going to play at an over 500 pace over the rest of the season.
I listened to somebody all summer long tell me they were the best big three in the history.
Listen, they had, and you can say whatever you want about NBA rank. We certainly made jokes about it. They had 3 of the top 21 players in NBA rank. No other team had 3 of the top 35. Saying they had the most talented big three in the league.
You wanted to use NBA rank just to give the Sixers a bye. That's the problem. They thought they were getting a bye in the regular season because they listened to you flap your gums on the hoop.
Oh yes,
clearly it was definitely
clearly
him.
I was the reason. I mean, listen,
they thought they were getting an exemption just into the conference finals because they heard you talk about NBA rank.
Listen, they came into the season with obviously an arrogant approach to the season with the way they've gone about it. I mean, I wrote a whole story about it, how they were already looking towards the playoffs, and then the season started. And they've been god awful. And every player on the team, with the exception of a rookie and a guy who was playing in Spain last year, have been 5 levels below what reasonably could have been expected of them. So that's how you end up 3-13. That's how you end up in a position where we're talking about them potentially being a tank team. and it's why their season's got a chance to go completely off the rails.
But seriously, real talk here. Real talk. Okay. Their pick is top 6 protected. That changes the dynamic on everything. So if you look at the lottery odds, you may say that there's not that big of a difference between, having, 6% to win the lottery at the 8th spot or 13% at the 4th spot.
It's a lot different when you're in the worst 2 records in the league and you guarantee keeping a top 6 pick.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
even if you couldn't guarantee being one of the worst 2 teams in the league, if you could get the difference between being the 5th worst record, if you have the 5th worst record in the league, you have a 64% chance of your pick being in the top 6. It's basically the idea that 2 teams would jump you.
Right.
If you're the 6th worst record in the league, you have like a 48 or something % chance of keeping in the top 6. Just between 5 and 6, if you're the Sixers, you're looking at a potential like 15, 16% difference in the chance of keeping your pick, of not the difference between getting the 5th pick and the 7th pick, of keeping your pick
in an absolutely loaded draft.
Yeah, and it's a complete debacle that a team with 3 max players that had the summer go out just perfectly as planned is in this situation. But there's going to come a point sooner than later where these discussions got to be had. Just like
I'm having them now, because we're talking about double-digit percentage situations.
Well, but this is what I wanted to
picking.
ask. This is what I wanted to ask Bobby, because Bobby's been on both sides of this. You had teams that have been in the finals. You had the 12-70 team that ended up with the 3rd pick in the draft. Like you've been through every possible scenario with this stuff. Like if you were Daryl Morey and you're looking at this team, and yes, you're in the East, and yes, you got these guys. I know obviously we don't have access to the exact medical stuff with Embiid and Paul George or whatever the heck is going on with these guys. But like, at what point, what would be the decision-making process that you would have to decide what time it is to actually fully commit to doing this?
Probably Christmas, right around Christmas. So that's a month. Was that a month from here?
Yes.
I think. Listen, the Embiid situation is going to linger all year. I mean, he's going to be on the injured report for probably the rest of it. I mean, maybe for the rest of his career, he's going to be on the injured report here. I just think you're going to get to a point, and I know in Tim McMahon knows how competitive Daryl is, right? Like, listen, he's the guy that probably the only GM that was willing to go swinging with Golden State back in the day, right? Putting those Houston teams together. But at the end of the day, you're going to look up at the standings, and the best case scenario might be you're getting Boston, and that's not the best case scenario, right? Like in the
Sure.
if you're and you got to get through the 9-10, and you get like. So so you you swallow your medicine right now, and you shut them down. You try for that draft pick. I mean, I think that's and if you have your owner's blessings on it, that's fine, right?
Well, and here's their schedule till Christmas, because I think that's instructive, right? It's basically a month from now. You got Houston on Wednesday. I don't think they're beating Houston with these guys on Wednesday. They're at Detroit on Saturday. I don't think they're beating Detroit. Detroit's been a very solid team this year. They have.
Well, it depends on whether Embiid and Paul George are playing. If they're playing,
well,
I think
at this point, I'm just assuming. I just don't think they're going to beat Detroit. I mean, Detroit's been 5 times better than them this year. Regardless of those guys are playing, they're 0-4 when Embiid plays.
When the conversation is, man, we can't beat the Pistons.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Here's their schedule. Here's their schedule in December. There's 2 games left that have to get added for whoever they play in the NBA Cup, or in the aftermath of the quarterfinals and stuff. At Charlotte, 2 home games against Orlando. I'm not picking them to win either of those games. At Chicago, the 2 NBA Cup games. Home for Charlotte, at Cleveland, home for Spurs, at Celtics on Christmas. There aren't a lot of wins in there.
And what it gets to is, realistically, what are the Sixers' chances of doing jack squat this year anyways? That conversation is happening right now. Versus what is the, what's the risk of potentially not being bad enough? And if you're giving the freaking Thunder the 7th or 8th pick, and it's the same, it's the numbers are different and the situations are different, but it's the same kind of discussion the Mavericks had to have late in the season after they traded for Kyrie, and things just went to crap. And this was a trade they made thinking, hey, this is going to vault us into, back into NBA relevancy. And then, they look up at the end of the season and it's like,
well, you say that
the 11 or 12 pick to the Knicks, we got to keep that pick because even if we get into playing, we have no chance of doing anything. And that pick turns into Lively. The Mavericks got flame broiled. It was a PR disaster, and it was
a PR disaster with Luka. Luka had to be walked through it.
Well, but listen, that was a decision to not play in 2 games.
I know this is a decision to not play in 4 months.
They have 64 games left in the season, or 66 actually. And I think this is relevant because today, Tuesday, the Hawks got fined $100,000 for Trae Young not being in violation of the player participation policy. And he didn't play in the NBA Cup game in Boston. Ironically, Atlanta won the game anyway. But as it says in the NBA's release, following an investigation, including review by an independent physician, the NBA determined the Hawks held Young out of a game that he could have played in under the medical standard in the policy. The organization's conduct violated the policy, which is intended to promote participation in the NBA's regular season. So, again, to go back to the beginning of this discussion, the Sixers have 3 guys who were all-stars last year, which is why I thought they had the most talented big 3 in the league. Are they just going to be able to say, well, we're going to have injuries for these guys, or just not going to play for months, and we're going to win 15 games? Like, it's easier said than done doing that under these new rules.
Well, I mean, I think with Embiid, though, they've already put swelling with his knee, right? So, like, you could just have that can be a continual thing, right? That could just be an ongoing thing.
It might be an ongoing thing at the rate this is going.
It might be a real ongoing thing. They might not have to pretend like it's obviously he can't play. He's not playing.
And one thing I'll say, you mentioned how competitive Daryl Morey is. He's also as calculating as anybody I've probably ever met. And we're kind of talking about hypothetical percentage odds. I promise you this, he's run the simulations. He has hardcore numbers. It probably memorized on how all the different ways this thing could play out and all directions this thing could take.
He's going to know 100% certainty comes with being one of the 2 worst teams in the league.
Yeah. All right, Bobby. Well, enjoy Disneyland.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you for stopping by.
Just a pep talk of a podcast.
I am Mr. Positivity today. I'm going to go put my Mickey ears on and walk the streets.
You got the grumpy dwarf thing. Put you in that situation. I will say this: Bontemps has a way of putting people in that kind of predicament.
It's all good, gentlemen. Good.
All right, thanks for coming to Friendsgiving. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, guys. Bobby. Appreciate you, buddy.
Adios, amigo.
All right. Now, this is something we've been looking forward to. This was really the highlight of all of our Friendsgiving. We're joined by our colleague at ESPN and the Boston Celtics play-by-play voice. You've heard him before, Drew Carter. And our first time on the Hoop Collective. And the reason why Noah Eagle from NBC and the Olympics is here isn't because he is involved with the NBA. I mean, yes, he's joining us from New York, where he's off tomorrow to call the Nets-Suns game. Yes, he was there in Paris for the gold medal stuff. But what's most important is that Drew and Noah were Jackson's roommates when he was at Syracuse. And I can't believe how awash I am in Syracuse-ness here. Noah, Drew, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I've got to say, I think the biggest upset is I'm the only one with a hat on. That actually is shocking. Usually that is a huge upset in all of this.
By the way, this is what Drew is wearing right now. This hoodie is basically what he wears to call Celtics games.
What the heck do you have going on there, MacMahon?
I'm just welcoming my Syracuse people. I know they're really proud of their basketball program.
What is that thing?
I think this is Bevo, baby. I think that
it was tipped up. The head was tipped up. I couldn't tell whether. There you go. Now I can actually see.
Are
what
you,
it is.
hey McMahon? Are you concerned that everybody that's in Austin is colorblind? They just think that's the proper shade of orange.
I don't know. I know that they put the proper shade of orange ball through the rim a lot more.
Hey, and McMahon, what happened in 2003? I know you remember that. You were like 50 years old in 2003. What happened in the Final Four when those oranges clashed? Can you
I didn't have a daughter in college then, so wasn't paying tuition. So don't care. Now
You also don't remember because you were like 3 years old in 2003.
That is fair, but I can watch the tape on that. It looks a little grainy. It's not high definition, but I know that we won it all that year. So I don't really care what happens now.
Noah, how would they feel at Syracuse?
No, you can't say we unless you were McMenamin and you had to wash the jocks.
But was he wearing knee-high socks? What were the knee-high socks present while he was doing so?
Absolutely, I guarantee it.
Bites for sure. Knee-high socks, maybe.
Well, I just remember on that team, TJ Ford, his shorts were so long and his socks were so high. It was just one piece of material all the way down in that Final Four. I was at that game, like employed at a newspaper, like.
This is a segment of Friendsgiving where we just all feel old.
I was gonna say, what's a newspaper?
I wasn't that old. I was just graduating college. Now, took a while.
This was a Van Wilder situation?
Yeah.
Yes. Definitionally.
McMahon's favorite 4 years of school was his junior year of college.
That's not. My junior year only took 2. My senior year, that was the senior era.
The senior era. Noah, how would they feel? How would the professors at Syracuse feel about the dress code that Scalabrine and Drew Carter are bringing to the Celtics? Are the premium product in the NBA right now. Kristaps Porzingis came back last night.
Cavs corner going to get some green.
The Celtics are at the White House on Thursday. Big day, celebrating Banner 18. With Bruce back up there with Joe Biden celebrating. And I get to walk in, and Drew Carter's there with Sean Grandy, longtime radio play-by-play guy, a bunch of other media. Drew looks like he's going to play golf. Got a windbreaker on. I say, hey, are you coming? Are you going to play golf? Like, what are you doing? You're at the gate of the White House. Where are you going? Oh, I was told business casual to come to the White House. Business casual to come to the White House. So literally there at the ceremony in a windbreaker, just chilling, just ready to go. Now, to be fair, this is generally the attire on NBC Sports Boston. So it is fair that would be how you'd show up. But that was a bold move to show up at the White House like you were trying to play golf with Joe Biden.
Once I started doing the Celtics games, I threw all my ties away. I donated some of them. I threw the rest away. I burned some of them because, as you know, we're the most casual broadcast in the NBA. The funny thing is, other announcers, when they come up to me, they never ask, hey, how do you pronounce number 88's name? It's always, how do you get away with wearing a quarter zip on TV? Every single time. And Noah's dad, Ian, when I saw him at a couple Nets games, I had one.
Noah's dad, Ian, would never be caught on TV wearing a quarter zip. That we know.
Yeah, I think I had a great quarter zip the first game. Yeah, I know.
Yes, so, Noah, are you packing a suit for tomorrow's Nets game in Phoenix?
You bet your ass. Yes, 1,000%. I will have shirt, tie, everything. I'm also sitting next to Syracuse, so I have to be dressed to the nines. Otherwise, I'm going to look like a complete slob.
I've never seen your dad have like one speck of dust on, or like anything on anything he's ever worn, or anything get out of place ever.
That's the
15 years I've known.
Drew gets off easy. Drew gets off with wait, how are you getting away with a quarter zip? I get off with a call saying, you do realize that one of your collar stays was not in there. That's the problem for me. If it's not perfectly, it's like I'm in the military. If it's not perfectly folded, steamed, and everything, there's a room check coming. It's a problem.
Well, I remember when Noah and I would travel to call games in college, I'd be in the room, I'd be sitting there, I'd be like, why has the shower been on for 20 minutes? And why is it so steamy in the room right now? And why is it hot? Why is it 90 degrees in the room? Oh, it's because Noah's using the shower to steam his shirt. That was a trick that I did not learn until like a month ago. Noah was doing it, I think, when he was 5.
Yes. Yeah. And clearly you still haven't learned.
Yeah, I don't think you've used it.
That's okay.
I have a question, Noah. When you do football games, it's sort of like it's a thing, and we're in this time of year where the broadcast booth it is open, and you guys are in like full coat. I don't know, at Notre Dame if it ever gets. I don't know what the booth setup is at Notre Dame, but is this a thing like for that in December? That if it is cold out there, that you must be exposed to the elements. Why is this a thing with football announcing?
Yeah, it's part of the deal. I think you get labeled as soft if you don't. If you close that window and someone else comes in, they go, "Oh, you're not a football guy." And now, if you're not a football guy, all your respect goes out the door. But I mean, you guys all know Dave Freed, or at least have interacted with Dave.
Sure.
Drew knows that Dave's son Tyler is my spotter for football, and so he's in my headset. He has direct contact to my headset the whole game. And when we get to these cold weather games like we had last week, we were at Yankee Stadium for Notre Dame, and our booth is literally outside for the entire game. There's no indoor aspect of it. All I hear in between every play, I call, Jeremiah Love runs 4-yard gain, 2nd down and 6, and I just hear in my headset, "It's so cold. Why are we outside right now? This is ridiculous." And I'm like,
he sounds just like his dad.
It's verbatim. It's the exact same sound. The entire Freed film. I mean, I love them dearly, truly love them all dearly, but every single play, the next one, it's like, "Oh, big gain over the middle for 24. This is insane. It's got to be 22. I'm like, "Oh, this is great."
So,
yeah, and also, is it a thing where the football announcers have to stand up?
No, you don't have to. You don't have to, but we choose to. Yeah, we choose to. Yeah, we choose to torture ourselves. Really.
I've never seen anybody not standing up, or do they just make you stand up for the shots when they show you in the booth?
I will say, just to add some more Syracuse flair, if you watch Sunday Night Football with Mike Tirico and his torn Achilles, he was sitting down.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Tirico, breaking news. Like all the media writers were on guard, tweeting it out. Tirico announces torn Achilles.
How did he do
reveals.
I don't know how he did it. That's the craziest part. I feel like
he plays center for the Indiana Pacers, and
I was going to say he tried to play against the Longhorns and it went badly. I was going to say,
Mark Jackson had the torn Achilles in the finals when he was on the ESPN crew, and it was a pickleball injury.
His was pickleball. I remember that one. Yeah, the one lunge to the dink. He over-dinked himself.
Can we go back to the Freeds for 1 second? Because I was doing summer league in July, working with Dave Freed, the elder. And
just so people know, because this is what my role is.
Yeah.
On the broadcast, when it's a 2-man booth, or even 3, there's a statistician who sits, or a spotter in football. It's not needed in basketball. My God, if it's needed in basketball, it's time to hang them up.
For the Pelicans, it is, Wendy. For every other team, you're
yes, you're not kidding. We had another guest on who Bontemps learned that their point guard had 21 assists last night. He didn't even know he was in the league. Yeah. So Dave Freed, when Mike Breen is working a game, Dave Freed is to his right, or maybe it's to his left. But
Dave Freed is basically attached to Mike Breen's hip for every game he's done for the past 30 years.
That's correct.
Yeah,
and so that's who we're talking
family,
about.
Just in full disclosure, elite at what they do.
The best.
Like Dave Freed is an elite statistician.
The Eagle family average at what they do.
We get propped up. We get propped up by the Freeds. And I'm not for football, I'm not even joking. Tyler hooks me. Like last week, the numbers for Notre Dame were brutal to read. He was on his game, so I give him props.
So anyway, the Freeds are elite statisticians, and this is the family business, right? So I'm working summer league with the elder Freed, and this is right before Noah and Tyler and D-Wade and everyone are going to Paris for the Olympics. And I'm like, Dave, it's going to be really cool for Tyler to hang out in Paris. Are you going over there? And Dave's like, no way. I'm not going to Paris. That's the dirtiest city in the world. I'm not going over. Have you seen that river? It's disgusting. Gross. I'd rather go to Long Island for a week than Paris.
Yeah, the East River, not too far from the Garden, is crystal clear.
Dave was too busy doing Gary Cohen's stats all summer for the Mets because he also does that.
They're like
he's working all the time. Yeah, he's working all the time.
So
crazy.
Noah and I were both in Paris, but we were not allowed to interact.
Oh
no! NBC, they have to stay well back from the unwashed masses.
But I will say the security at especially Bercy Arena the second week was some of the strictest I've ever seen, to the point that, I mean, Dwayne Wade is not accustomed to having to deal with security people giving him a hard time because he's Dwayne Wade and everybody kind of knows who he is. But these people didn't really speak much English. And he had, I don't even remember exactly what it was, but he had something in his bag that was long and thin. And the X-ray basically set it off. And they said, "What is this?" Because they thought that he was shooting heroin before he was going into the arena.
His energy could have been
not.
higher. His energy could have been higher.
Yeah, no. It was, I think, a pen of some kind, or so. It was something like the most obsolete item. And they go, "No, you can't do drugs here." He's like, "What are you talking about?"
To ask one work question quick, Noah, because I haven't asked you this privately. What were those semifinal and final games like to call, especially the semifinal game?
Yeah, just your average run-of-the-mill basketball game. No, they were cool, man. I mean, the whole experience was great, and I think that Wendy could probably vouch. We obviously have been to some crazy games over the years and been in awesome environments, but there was something about the energy both weeks in the arena that fans brought, packed house, especially for those France games. Like, if you just were there for the national anthem, the French national anthem, where every single person in the building was belting it at the top of their lungs.
That's awesome.
It's a great national anthem too.
It is.
Pretty much all national anthems are better than ours.
That's what I thought, because as the French did theirs, I'm like, oh, this is like a battle. This is a war cry. And then they go to ours, and I'm like, it's just kind of singing. I don't know.
Listen,
yes, I always love it when they're
Thanksgiving, like ripping the national anthem.
Yeah, super thankful, guys. Super
seriously,
thankful.
"Oh Canada, superior." We can all agree to that. Can we all agree to that?
Yeah, beautiful song.
Drew, do you like how Noah's got the strategically placed Emmy in the background?
Is that what that is? I haven't seen one of those.
Oh, before. I didn't notice it. Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
As you guys can tell, around at the game. He had it in a tote bag. He had his notes in one hand and an Emmy in the other. I'm like, do you just carry that everywhere? Yeah. Is that what you're gonna do, Noah?
Well, as you guys can see, we really value and care for it because it's sitting on an ottoman right now. So that's how much I really put so much thought into leaving it back there.
Noah has an Emmy behind him. I have a stocking that's been up since last Christmas.
What's that hanging on?
The lump of coal is still in
it. Yeah. Did you please tell us how Jackson enriched your lives during your time at Syracuse, because we're still looking for redeeming qualities.
The opposite of enrich would be, I guess, take or sap. And that's what he did because he still owes me for that South Florida game, which I'm going to bring up every Friendsgiving, Jackson.
As you should. You should.
There is a thing called Venmo now. There's also Apple Pay. There are plenty of ways for you to get even for that.
What is the South Florida game? I don't remember this story.
Yeah, Brian has no memory, so you should refresh it from last year.
Yeah, so I think it was sophomore year. So the year before Syracuse football got really good, believe it or not, MacMahon. Our senior year, Syracuse won 10 games.
I mean,
well, really for MacMahon's senior year was 3 years, so that was about 3.5
You got to pick one. It's like LeBron saying 3 rings. Pick the middle.
So one season we won 10 games, which was amazing. But the 3 combined, we basically won 10 games before that. So we're playing South Florida, who's really good, like borderline top 25. I'm like, man, we're going to get smoked this weekend. Jackson's like, nah, man, we're going to win. I'm like, all right, you want to bet? He's like, I'll give you 3 touchdowns. We end up losing by 28. So they covered the spread and then some that Jackson gave me, and we bet $20. So I'm still waiting on that.
Oh, so you were betting against your alma mater. What is Mac Tennessee going to say about that? Listen, if you don't just put the proper spotlight, the proper shine on those orange, Mac Tennessee's going to have something to say to you next time.
I will say McMenamin and Jackson have something in common, which is that they will like crawl over glass and I-90 to like get no sleep to get to Syracuse sporting events. Like McMenamin has like flown from LA to like North Carolina on no sleep, watched Syracuse get destroyed by Duke, got back to the airport and flown back. Jackson has like driven through, 6 inches of snow to see the Big East volleyball quarterfinals.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
Jackson
will be there this weekend with my dad for the Syracuse Miami game.
Big game. So no, but that is my favorite quality about it. When we were students, Jackson was probably the most prideful Syracuse fan off the rip. I mean, our freshman year when we made the Final Four, we were a 10 seed, and Jackson actually picked us to go to the final. Did you pick us to win it, the whole thing, Jackson?
Yeah, I did pick the
Okay, all right. I mean, I was going to stop at Final Four.
Final
but
Four.
I was going to stop there, but you did take it a couple steps too far. But I mean, it was like a blind faith thing. It was just this level that none of us could reach. And I always appreciated that because you knew that if you were having a down day saying, you know what, this game's going to be really rough, or he'd be right there to say, no, we're going to win this game. And then you'd lose by 25 and it would be all good.
How did you feel when they wanted to go to the Final Four, Jackson? Were you just like, oh my God, I called it? Like,
yeah, I think it was a pretty high level of euphoria. I think if we won the title, I think people were genuinely fearful of like, if I went through the night, like that might not have happened, you know, like,
you know why I liked that. And I told Jim Boeheim this, cause like that year he came to the finals. I think I'm not sure which of his sons was a big Cavs fan, but like he would bring his son, cause that was the era like when his sons were like teenagers was when the Cavs were going to the finals every year. And he would come to some finals games in Cleveland. And I knew him from Team USA. And what I loved about that particular Final Four, wasn't he under some like bogus NCAA investigation? Yeah. And I just loved it.
Now you sound like the 10th seed right
All
there.
NCAA investigations are bogus, if you ask me. And so like I loved it. Like I don't care about Syracuse, no offense, gents. I loved it that he was like under some, some cloud. Didn't they take away some of his wins or whatever?
Yeah.
And
101.
Like, we're going 101 wins they took away?
Yes.
Bogus.
Of course they've got it. They've got that one ready off the rip. Oh, here. Oh man,
well, it is ridiculous.
Just got screwed. Yes.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. Well, yeah, it takes a lot to get people to come to Syracuse. In
True.
the, you think that by accident?
Yeah,
maybe if Bonaventure cheated a little bit more.
Hey, listen, we don't need to cheat. We've got Woj out there in the streets, bringing in recruits left and right, bringing in wins left and right. It's all you need.
Hey, they got Bontemps making big time donations to the NIL.
Yeah, exactly. That's what's doing it. Not Adrian moving up there. Me helping out the NIL fund. Definitely the difference.
Well, I am definitely looking forward to what we could see as early as next season in the playoffs. Drew calling a Celtics game side by side with Noah calling a Celtics playoff game. This could be Jackson. You got to go for that. You got to be there for that game.
Hey, there's a prediction. Wendy's predicting the Celtics are going to make the playoffs.
Wow. Going out
you didn't do
baby.
Predictions, Brian.
Yes, I don't do predictions, but
he does predictions that won't be wrong. That's what he does.
Yeah.
I will tell you that so I've been doing Countdown a little bit this year, and there's like a sponsored ESPN bet segment, and like you kind of have to, to like make the segment work. And I've been like trying like more and more creative things to not like straight out and out like make a call on a game, but I'm pretty much failing. So I'm totally being undercut. And like, by the way, I'm not like Stephen A or Perk or Mad Dog or whatever, who like gets like a separate ESPN bet check. I basically just get like called to the carpet by the producers and be like, yeah, this segment is sponsored by ESPN bet. You're going to say whether you're picking the Warriors or the Hawks for this game.
They don't give you like a Wendy's winners. I mean, that just feels like it writes itself.
I should do this. You
might just have named it, Noah, right there.
Yeah. So it's getting more difficult, but like when are you guys going back for your like triumphant 10-year Syracuse reunion where you'll be celebrated as the voices of the NBA?
Yeah. I'm like 2035.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
I guess 5 years from now, I think Jackson's arranging it, right? Aren't you organizing the 10-year reunion?
I'm in charge of that. I mean, I think
probably. Yeah.
I mean, this is amazing.
Hey, Jackson will do it if you forgive his debt.
Oh, good trade-off.
Just donate it to the university.
I have to say, this is very intimidating. All these folks from Syracuse, so successful in their 20s. Jackson producing this pod. I mean, he's really producing the fantasy football podcast. That's what he puts on his resume. This is kind of secondary.
Mhm.
Drew hosting Sports Center, anchoring Sports Center, calling Celtics games. Noah, Nets, Notre Dame. I'm not sure what other college football you do.
Big Ten.
Olympics, Big Ten.
I'm in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, I was gonna say
he never calls me when he comes to Lincoln.
No, I'm
And,
like, too
Ohio
much on my
State only
plate.
By the
plays
way,
that noon game, so
I want to
Winnie
point
never
something
sees
else
it.
out. I just want you to know this. Last Saturday night, Nebraska won to get their 6th win.
Yeah.
The first time they've been bowl eligible since 2016, since the Cavs won the title.
And they
That's
stormed
wild.
the field. They stormed the field for their 6th win.
Dude, the field.
Noah, people in my neighborhood shot off fireworks.
Seriously.
Fireworks went up when Nebraska got their 6th win for the first time in 8 years.
I was
How the mighty have fallen.
I
I
thought
was
your
at least
one neighbor.
glad that Matt Rule said this will be the last time we ever celebrate a 6th win in the season.
Yeah, because if it happens again, he's going to be fired. That's fine.
Yeah, correct.
All right. Well, unfortunately, we've got to bring this to a close. I could go on forever. Jackson, is there any trash you want to talk about these guys before you go? Can anybody talk trash about Noah? I feel like Noah, it's very hard to talk trash about him.
I'm
Drew,
ready.
there's lots of trash that can be talked.
I know what it's
What
so
is he talking?
inequitable.
Well,
It's
I mean,
unfair.
Drew's just setting himself up poorly with the, you want to be a trendsetter, but at least with the coaches, they're all making that decision as a collective group to abandon the ties. You're on an island right now, so
Dude,
you're either a trailblazer or you'll just look like a jackass for a longer
Wear
period.
cardigans.
You can go either way.
Or both.
Cardigans in
Or both.
2024.
hey, McMahon, thank you for watching last night. I appreciate that for the cardigan shout out. Hey, Taylor Swift is the hottest thing around right now. So I'm just trying to be like her, wearing my cardigan. And you watch 10 years from now, no one's going to wear a tie again. Everyone's going to show up in a backwards hat like Bontemps.
Can I tell you that
Cover the
I didn't
game.
wear ties on TV for like 7 years, and now they're coming back.
Oh, yeah.
And I
No.
and I just like I've now worn ties more in the last 2 months than I have in the last 7 years. And I just bought on eBay a lot of 16 ties, like of this brand that I like, that I think is good on TV, which doesn't mean anything to you. I'll talk with Noah about it. I am now acquiring more ties because it is. I just want you to know the trend is heading back to ties.
The IT department just got me a fresh batch of ties.
All
Yeah,
right.
I mean, here's the problem, guys, for me is because my dad's been doing this for 31 plus years now, he has to recycle his own ties, and he's like, you'll take them. Instead of him dealing with it, he goes, you'll take them. So I have no choice because
And
now I
then
have an
he
influx.
invoices you. Does he then invoice you for those?
Yeah, he
ties?
might. End of the year, we usually deal with it after taxes. So
Well,
we'll see.
The latest trend is name tags, as you can see.
Yes.
Ryan and Tim
We're
have
so
their name
proud.
tags on.
We're so proud.
So, I want
Noah,
mine.
maybe if
Cast
you
members.
work really hard at NBC, maybe someday. Maybe
It'll be
someday.
right there on my ottoman, so it'll be
Yeah,
good.
right next to the Emmy. All right. Thank you, Noah. Thank you, Drew. Thank you, Jackson. And we'll talk to you guys later.
Hey,
Appreciate it.
thanks, fellas. You guys are the best big three in the NBA.
Adios, amigos.
Okay, now joined from San Antonio by our guy, Michael C. for Corleone Wright. Still one of the greatest names in the NBA. How's it going, Mr. Wright?
It's good. How are you guys?
So you are legendary for your cooking, your barbecue. What is on the Wright family menu for Thanksgiving? What are you working on? I know you got something going on.
I do, actually. It's in the garage out behind me. I've got my turkey in there. It's sitting in the brine, been sitting in there since yesterday, coming up on about 24 hours, but I'll pull it out at 48 hours and then put it in the fridge, throw it on the smoker for Thanksgiving, that kind of thing. Nothing special.
You smoke the turkey.
Yes. Well, not smoke. That's kind of it'll be roasted, but I can do it on my smoker. You know what I mean? It won't be smoked though. Like I won't put wood in there to get smoked and all that.
Well, we'll be
So-
Nothing. Like this is traditional, man. We'll have the dressing, the collard greens, mashed potato, all the stuff that everybody has for Thanksgiving.
See, but you said the C's for Corleone. The C's really for country.
It could be. But my driver's license does not say country.
Tim. His name is Tim, right there on his name tag.
I know I'm
That's
jealous
right.
of you guys. I don't have one.
You know,
We'll see if we can get one. But I want the full name, all three names, all write down it.
Brian Wendy Windhorst.
No, I want Michael Corleone Wright, just like that on there. So the Spurs are above 500, Mr. Wright. It's been a while. What's the mood there in Spurs land?
It's a funny mood because it's like a bunch of kids have two uncles in that locker room, and Harrison Barnes and Chris Paul. And it's like they have fun with those guys. Like there's always jokes. Very, I guess, close-knit group. Did you know that Harrison Barnes has started a book club in that locker room?
That does not surprise me.
Harrison Barnes is the reigning Western Conference Player of the Week. I did not foresee that.
Yeah, he's been playing his butt off. 20 plus points in 3 straight games.
Do you know any of the titles that are on the book club?
I do not. I am not privy to that information. What I try to do is, because like Vic, he's always carrying a book. And he'll have his fingers sort of stuck in the middle of it, kind of marking his page or whatever. And I'm always kind of bending over trying to see what it is. But like this guy he reads the big books, man. Like Vic does not mess around. He's a voracious reader. And so I got to figure that out. That's something that's a mission that I need to embark on.
Yeah. So I am now aware that, people, who are like 23 and younger, like Jackson, they call people born. They will say, "Oh, you were born in the 1900s." They call older people, "You were born in the 1900s." That hit me. Whoa, 1900s. Also, you said two uncles, like basically
they call them uncle.
That's what I'm saying. Like anybody who was born in the 1900s in a pro locker room now is referred to as Unc. Like apparently in the NFL, if you were born before 2000, you're automatically Unc.
This is true. It's Unc or OG. That's what you hear in that locker room all the time. But the great thing about it is those Uncs, they're teaching those kids how to win basketball games. I mean, they were 13-28 last year in clutch games. So far, they're 4-3. And Harrison Barnes, like in his post game the other day, it was very interesting what he said. Like Keldon Johnson, you guys know Keldon. He's the life of the party. He's the life of that locker room. He
is one of the most happiest.
Yes.
I one of my favorite memories was in 2021. He made the Olympic team. Like there was guys who fell by the wayside because COVID and whatever, and it helped. He was a Spur. That certainly created some controversy. But the day he made the Olympic team and found out he was going to go play for Team USA, his interview with us was like, it lit up my day. And I'm not that type of person. So
that is Keldon for sure. But so almost every day at practice, he does this dunk where he hangs on the rim and convulses, does all this stuff. And Harrison Barnes had kept warning him at practice, hey, you're going to get a tech in the game. You do that. And Keldon just laughed at him. Well, fast forward, they're playing the Utah Jazz, 16 seconds left. The Spurs are up by 9, 10 points. And he does that dunk. And he gets teed up for it. And as soon as he comes down, Harrison Barnes is right there in his ear. And he's like, hey, you remember what I was telling you about at practice? I told you one of these days it's going to happen in a game and it's going to cost us. He said, but it didn't cost us in this situation. But it's little things like that all these young guys are constantly reminded of. It's the older guys are always in the younger guys' ear. But I think it's a perfect situation because, you throw Chris and Harrison on a more veteran team, and that might sort of grate on you after a while. Somebody sort of always on you.
You think Chris would grate on somebody after a while? What do you think?
I think he would.
I've never seen it.
You think he would? I think he has a lot.
Yeah,
but seriously, sure. The one thing about Chris Paul, listen, the Lob City Clippers, it reached a point where they didn't want to hear his voice anymore. That's happened to him. In Oklahoma City, it didn't happen. And, I'm not saying the Thunder are good now because Chris Paul spent 1 year there mentoring, SGA and Lou Dort, but it didn't
hurt though.
And the thing about Chris Paul is the tone might not always be pleasant, but he's not wrong. He's not misleading guys, that's for sure.
Yep, he's always got everybody's best intention, best interest in mind. And, you go back to that Oklahoma City situation, he did take them to the playoffs, and he almost knocked off the Rockets. So, that was one of those situations where you're teaching those young guys how to win. And I think
then he went to the Suns and did the same exact thing. Those guys got to the finals with a bunch of young fellas in him. I mean, he's got a long history of maximizing.
Then he went to the
players
Warriors
around him.
Well, I wouldn't say the Warriors necessarily were relying on Chris to lead a young.
I know.
Yeah, but no, it's contagious on this team, and like you see guys like Steph Castle and what he's out there.
Did you hear that? By the way,
Thank you. I call him Steph Castle, but Bontemps, he's like all over me.
But just call him by his name.
Stephon
Castle.
They call him Steph.
Thank you.
They call him.
Mike Wright. The other day, Brian decided it was too hard to say Stephon Castle. That was my
I was just saying,
not that you can't call him Steph, that it's too hard to call him by his
that's
name.
why everybody calls him Steph. They don't want to mess it up.
The fewer syllables, the less chance you have of screwing it up. That's why you said Mike right, because you don't know how to pronounce Michael, you doofus.
Okay. I don't think if there's one of us who doesn't know how to pronounce things.
Well,
on
speaking
the pod,
of things that irritate
but
Bontemps, Mike, is Victor taking so many threes. I've tried to tell him that people have been trying to talk Victor out of shooting so many threes since he was a teenager, a young teenager, and it's never worked, and it's not going to work now. But it drives Bontemps crazy.
I get it, Timmy. I totally understand because 7'4", 7'5", however tall he really is, he should be playing closer to the basket. That's just a higher percentage shot.
I just would like him to shoot less threes, not no threes. Just so you know my position.
But that 3-pointer is a more efficient shot, and ultimately, who's gonna block it?
Sometimes
it's not more efficient than the dunk shot. The dunk shot is still the most efficient shot. But he can dunk it from the free throw line. Just stick his hand out like Inspector Gadget and just dunk it from the free throw line.
Now who's from the 1900s? Inspector Gadget.
Yeah, you should dunk more often, but it's getting to it's the journey to the rim that's the hard part about dunking. It's not actually once he gets there.
Right. Well, the thing about Vic too is we all need to, we just haven't listened to him. He's told us a million times, don't put me in a box. Mm-hmm. And when you tell him that he should not be shooting as many threes, that's sort of putting him in a box, and he despises that. And so, Vic, I think with Victor, like we thought coming into year 2, he was just going to all of a sudden morph into this just ultimate weapon. He's only in year 2. He's still evolving. He's still trying to figure out his game. And I think we are going to see 2 or 3 different evolutions in Victor before we finally see the finished product. I was just talking to somebody with the Spurs yesterday, and I was like, what if this offseason he goes and he figures out some post stuff and he comes back with like LaMarcus Aldridge's mid-range game or something like that. That's just another thing to put in the toolbox. So I'm not ready to, like right now, I will say that Vic is a perimeter player. We don't want to admit that, but he's a perimeter player. Even Coach Pop said it right before he ended up, getting sick or whatever. He said that Vic is a perimeter player at this point, and he said, I want him shooting 3-pointers. So that's the move right now, fellas.
Well, and listen,
currently half his shots are from 2 and half his shots are from 3.
Yeah.
I will maintain that is the wrong percentage. Last year it was 2/3 of his shot as 2s and 1/3 of his shots as 3s. That would be a better percentage. That's all.
All right, Mike. Thank you for stopping by. I wish I was having some of your turkey. I'm sure it'll be better. Well, I'm going to take that back before I get in trouble with my family.
Don't get yourself in trouble.
All right, Jackson, cut that out. Thank you, Mr. Wright. Thank you for stopping by. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys.
Adios, amigo.
Okay, welcome now to the machine, Kevin Pelton, joining us from Seattle, where it's Big Ten country. Do you feel like a Big Ten guy there, Pelton?
It's still very strange. And, the Big Ten in its infinite wisdom has really decided to ease us into this. There's the traditional men's and women's basketball play some conference games now before Christmas, before you get into the bulk of the conference schedule after Christmas. And I know the UW women are playing UCLA is their first Big Ten game. And I think the men have a couple of like former Pac-12 rivals as well. So you still haven't totally adjusted to it, but
traditionally, isn't the Apple Cup supposed to be around Thanksgiving?
Historically, yes. So that's one of those things that changed. And now Oregon, which has kind of unofficially been UW's biggest rival for a long period of time, it's the whole, if you can only beat one opponent on your schedule, it definitely would be Oregon and not Washington State. So that's now taken its place. It's going to be the post-Thanksgiving game every year.
I'm not necessarily a fan. I like the Apple Cup right where it was. Well, I mean, I see these SEC schools are playing ridiculous games in November. Why can't Washington play a non-conference game in November?
Yeah, I think it's just kind of Big Ten wants the marquee TV game of Washington, Oregon, which will be front and center this weekend.
Well,
they have to have
weekend. They make it a 9 a.m. Pacific kickoff.
Thankfully,
no, they don't do that. How often do you eat Washington apples?
Actually, I'm not a big apple guy. So
my God.
That's a tough beat for me. I don't drink coffee, and I'm not a big apple guy. So am I really a Seattleite?
What are the Washington apples?
Well,
Washington is famous for the apples. That's why it's called the Apple Cup.
I'm asking, what are the ones that are like most prominent in Washington? I don't even know.
This is where I have to give credit to Washington State, because they have, the agriculture department dating back to the Washington A&M days, and they came up with the Cosmic Crisp apple. And even as somebody who's not a big consumer of apples as hand fruit, shout out to the Rip City remix, the Cosmic Crisp is pretty incredible. They rolled that out a few years ago, and it's top notch.
I'm enjoying watching McMahon's face. He is just getting more confused as every second of this goes on. It's like a technological snafu is happening during the pod. It's like, wait a second, what do I do with
words
this?
that just took place, completely confused. You Rip City remix. Well, let's start with this. Do you know what the Rip City remix is, McMahon?
I think it's some kind of soccer thing.
Oh, it's the Blazers G League team.
It is in fact a G League
whatever.
team.
That was close.
It is a strange name. I agree.
The branding is really awesome. And I just learned about this. That's like a fan thing, the hand fruit, because that's what they sell. That's one of the items that's a concession at the games at the Child's Center at the University of Portland is hand fruit.
No, but I didn't realize there's like a lot of different kinds of apples. I thought there was green and red.
No. Granny Smith, delicious. There's they're all sort of, it's all marketing.
So to take everybody behind the pod for a second, shout out to our wives, K-Bon in the IT department. I went apple picking a few weeks ago with K-Bon.
Thanks.
And I got some texts from this guy, McMahon, as he's rolling his eyes, that the IT department was very, very annoyed that she had not gone apple picking with McMahon and said, "Oh, we need to do this." When you take the IT department apple picking, McMahon, whenever you do that, you will see there are all sorts of varieties of apples when you go there, and you can pick all sorts of different ones and try them out.
Do you think there's apple picking in Dallas?
Yeah, I was going to ask that.
Why the heck? First of all, maybe there is. I don't know about it. I'm unaware of it. Also, why do you want to go apple picking? They have them already picked for you at the grocery store.
Now, this I agree with, but I'm just going to tell you, I can almost close my eyes and see your wife's face, McMahon, when she heard that Tim and his wife went apple picking, because I could almost see her face reacting to how much she would enjoy going out with you to the orchard.
It's apple picking. It's, going to theater and all this.
Theater. He wants to go there. She wants to take me to the gosh darn theater.
And then I'm just like, you got to be kidding me.
She's trying to culture me, man.
What are you going to see at the theater?
No, the point is, when we were on vacation this summer, we went to the opera in Budapest, and he got a comment about that too. That was
Well, that would have been tough. I don't.
Bontemps does that. Yeah, but if you're married to Bontemps, you have to look at his face and listen to his voice.
Here's some breaking news. We had a story this week involving Kevin Pelton that had tears in it.
Ooh, wow.
And if I have to read one more story on ESPN with tears, I'm going to have tears. There's
Brian
different types of
struggles
tears.
with- Brian struggles with numbers.
Tears for tears?
Tiers, rankings, basic
Pelton, you
counting.
had some more. You had
Snake
some
drafts?
more tears. Snake drafts too.
Yeah, this is jeers for tears.
Yeah.
Yes, I tiered out the teams in the Western Conference, which I think is something we're going to be doing on the site all season long.
Thank God.
At this point, the tier that's like teams that are kind of in the middle of in playoff contention, probably not like clear top two teams. I had Golden State and Oklahoma City at the top, then a bunch of teams, and then I think 5 teams below them in separate tiers, or maybe 6. And already since then, we've only been a week, and I think the Clippers have elevated themselves into that big in contention for seeds 3 through whatever in the Western Conference group, despite last night's blowout in Boston or Monday night.
I will say this: whenever we do stuff in tiers, people from the league complain to me about where they're ranked. I'm sorry, I shouldn't use the word complain. Give me feedback
Yes,
about where they're
constructive
ranked.
criticism.
Yes.
They lament it, perhaps. But I wanted to start this discussion with a question, which is, so all summer long when we were previewing the Western Conference, we talked about the top 4 teams in the West being the teams that made the conference semifinals last year: Dallas, Denver, Minnesota, OKC. And now I think the question that's worth considering is it possible, like how likely is it that none of those teams but Oklahoma City finishes in the top 4 and has home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs? Because, if you look at the ESPN BPI projections, Dallas is
another one of my favorite things. Sorry.
Dallas is the only team that's in the top 4 on average right now from that group. And, only Golden State and Oklahoma City have a better than 50-50 chance at home court advantage in the first round right now because of the fact that there's still so many teams in the mix. So, sort of it's flipped kind of the script of what we thought was going to be for everyone but Oklahoma City among the West favorites coming into the year.
Minnesota, by the way, projected right now to be in 10th with 41 wins, 1 spot ahead of the San Antonio Spurs, who are currently projected to have 38.5 wins and be above almost every number that MacMahon cited as a possible wins total.
Well,
So,
can you get apples as part of that
above
dinner?
the bet.
Yes.
Most importantly, above the bet.
I still like Denver's odds to be a top 4 team, as long as Joker doesn't have any more paternity leave and they don't have any more nights in Los Angeles after wins.
By the way, so far, if I'm not mistaken, Minnesota, according to ESPN, has played the 4th easiest schedule, which is hard to do if you're in the Western Conference.
Well,
so
they're 8 for a baseball series and get swept.
According to BPI, they played the 11th easiest.
By the way, speaking of Denver, did you see what Jamal Murray? Well, first off, it was an incredible. So Saturday night, the Nuggets beat the Lakers in LA. Now, you know how much Michael Malone likes to beat the Lakers. He talks endless trash to them. He's 13-1 against them in his last 14 games. So not only do they beat the Lakers in LA,
who else probably wants to beat the Lakers? Russell Westbrook. Go on.
Yeah, Russell Westbrook, who scored 24 points in the 4th quarter on Monday night. So Saturday night, they beat the Lakers in LA. Not only do they do that, but it breaks the Denver Nuggets all-time coaching wins record. Michael Malone passes Doug Moe to become the Nuggets all-time win leader. They come back and lose at home to the Knicks, give up 145 points. Malone Malone, after the game, rips everybody, including Jokic. He even, mildly ripped Jokic. Definitely all of his starters. And then after the game, Jamal Murray says, well, we won Saturday night in LA. There's a bunch of our guys who live in LA, so we kind of stayed there. And basically it was like our team's minds were still in LA.
Stayed there and lost their focus.
Yes, lost their focus. Other things could be said, but maybe about what they imbibed. But he didn't say that. He just said they lost their focus. So
He didn't say it. He implied it.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
I tell you what, man, when LA nightlife is causing you to have a dud at home, that is pretty impressive.
Well, you know what? The Nuggets, who, historically have the biggest home court advantage, Obviously, it depends on the quality of their team, but certainly over the last 4 or 5 years, they've been one of the best home teams every year. Last year, I think they were 33-8 at home. They're 5-4 at home this year.
Okay, and listen, they were wearing those city jerseys, the 52-80 monstrosities.
Ugh,
They
brutal.
deserve every game they play in those ridiculous jerseys.
Those jerseys are brutal.
Wait, which are
I gotta
worse,
tell you-
the 52-80 or the Heat culture?
Ooh,
The Heat culture jerseys are also brutal.
I gotta tell you, like the Detroit Pistons, like Jaden Ivey hit a game winner on Monday night, and they were wearing like these 3-1-3 jerseys. I think we need to take a step back.
There's way too many jerseys, and most of them are terrible.
There's way too many courts. There's way too many jerseys.
You have to like Google to figure out what the hell any of this stuff means. Like I know 52-80 is a thing, but like, dude, give me a break. Like,
wait do you see the remix, the Rip City remix jerseys?
I mean, in all seriousness, fans need to be able to turn on games and like recognize what they're watching. And like you turn on these NBA games, and half the time it takes you 5 minutes to figure out who's playing and where.
Monday night was particularly bad because while the Warriors court was kind of cool, where they had the Golden Gate sort of like superimposed, you kind of knew what they were doing there. Like when I saw the Jaden Ivey game winner, like a game winner comes across my screen, I wasn't 100% sure what I was looking at. I didn't really know.
And in all seriousness, that's you who watches the NBA every day. That's not average fan trying to tune in and check out the game.
Right. You shouldn't have to really take a few minutes to figure out who the hell is playing when you put on an NBA game. I'm sorry. These franchises have had color schemes for years and years and years. They should be incorporated into any jerseys that they put on their bodies. Like Mavericks are a pretty simple little white and silver or white and gray. But somebody asked Jay Kidd about it, and they wore them against the Spurs. And he's like, I thought we were the Spurs for a second. Like, there's no blue, there's no green. Like, what are we doing here?
We're those people that the kids say we were born in the 1900s. Stay in this.
Well, the NBA has 8,000 jerseys and 8,000 courts. So,
however, I will say this, MacMahon, NBA Cup games have been played in Dallas, and the lines were the correct distances. Is that correct?
So at least you're getting your Dallas related court screw ups confused.
Oh,
Denver's the one that 3-point line.
Yes.
Dallas
is just playing the game.
never managed to get their court down last year. They're the one team.
It didn't dry in time, right?
Well, I think there was some kind of storage issue, but like the paint was flaking or whatever. They never played.
I got it wrong. You're right. I'm sorry.
I do think in particular, I mean, we've talked about Minnesota and Dallas both recently. Dallas has ripped off a few wins without Luka. But I do think both those teams, I think, have some real cause for concern to be trying to get to where they ultimately hope to go. The fact that Nikola Jokic is playing at an otherworldly level and he never gets hurt, I do agree with you, MacMahon, that I would say ultimately they will find a way to get into the top four, because you look at, there's just a lot of these West teams are all solid but flawed, and there's a lot of, it's a deep group of all pretty good, but also teams with real flaws from probably 2 to 10 or 11. But
12.
Right. Well, yeah, if you want to throw in the Spurs. But we've talked about, yes, I know you do. That's for sure. But we've talked about Minnesota's offense, offensive struggles a little bit, and obviously their defense not being where it was last year. And we've seen Clay get benched a couple times lately in down the stretch in games. He got benched for a chunk of the loss to Miami the other night. And, it is going to be interesting to see how they ultimately are going to be able to guard if they've got him, Kyrie, and Luka all out there playing together. I mean, we talked about that when they signed Clay, and, I think we're starting to see that be a little bit of an issue for them.
Well, if you'd like some Thanksgiving reading, Pelton's Tears story is available on ESPN Plus. By the way, promo time coming up soon. I think maybe next week, but I don't want to hem us in because we haven't scheduled it yet. But coming up soon is another one of our favorite annual traditions. with Kevin Pelton and that small sample size theater. Another thing that MacMahon's not interested in.
Listen, I listen to nerds. Pelton's made me a lot smarter. You two are still.
I think he was talking about the theater part, pal.
Oh, that theater.
Yes.
I get it. Oh, the joke just went.
And because he's tall enough to be a good NBA referee, you have to get really high to go over McMahon's head.
Yes, coming later this year, ESPN PitchBot, MacMahon's tiered referee rankings based on actual tiers above the ground.
Listen, I'm still waiting for the NBA to do the right thing and include heights in their little referee bios.
They're waiting for you to just eyeball it yourself and provide the list.
Scott Foster is the shortest 6'2" guy I've ever seen.
Thank you very much, Pelton. Sorry this was a little off the rails, but that's what happens on Friendsgiving. All right, we're now joined from New York with our guy Ryan Ruocco. Ruocco, I have an important question for you. Aaron Judge, unanimous AL MVP award winner. Should Jose Ramirez have received at least some votes?
No, he should not have. I'm happy for you and for Cleveland fans that Jose had another incredible year and the Guardians had an amazing year. But Aaron Judge literally had the greatest offensive season we have seen since Barry Bonds. And he had at one point I think it was a 100-game stretch where he hit over 400 with more than 40 home runs, and no player in the history of baseball had done that over a 100-game stretch. So to me,
he didn't have the best offensive season in baseball this year, did he?
He did. I mean, he had a better offensive season.
He was better than Ohtani?
He did.
Okay.
He had a better offensive season than Ohtani. Not by a ton, because that's how great Ohtani was, but Judge's season was still better.
I'll tell you
if
what.
we had East and West MVPs like AL and NL MVPs and the fact that baseball has multiple awards for everything, my life would have been a lot simpler the last few years because there wouldn't have been any debates about Jokic and Embiid. It would have just been Embiid would have got one and Jokic would have got one. Everybody could have had a trophy and everybody'd be happy.
You'd have to do 2 straw polls then. And by the way, let me just point out.
Yeah, that's not the part that's easy.
Nobody hates on a no-brainer MVP like Brian Windy Windhorst.
Hey, breaking into our discussion, joining us from Los Angeles, she's got like a couple minutes before NBA Today, Malika Andrews. Malika, I wanted you to be here with
you know what? You bet I wouldn't miss it for the world.
I love this so much. She's joining us from the NBA Today set. I love this new segment that we have when Ruocco comes on.
So do I.
The You Bet or No segment, because, and here's what you should know, Ruocco. Now when we're just around the studio in the office, we just toss it into regular conversation. Like, hey, does anybody want something from Starbucks? You bet.
Ruocco, I never asked you this, but how did you, everybody's got their call, that's obviously become your call. How did you come up with that as your call?
I honestly, the only thing I remember about the first couple times I did it was just in response to me asking if a guy was going to stay hot, oh, could he hit another? You bet. And then I started realizing because sometimes if you hear me call a game, I might say again or something like that, something in the context of what a player's been doing. And then I was like, oh, I kind of like that. And then I started using it more. And then our boss for the NBA on ESPN, Tim Corrigan, I was a couple of years into doing NBA games on ESPN, and he was like, hey, you bet is really good, but you need to be more selective with it. You have to use it strategically, not just because I was just kind of using it 8-9 times a game.
Right.
And he was like, pick your spots. Doesn't have to be a game-winning bucket always, but make sure it's something meaningful. A guy's red hot. It punctuates a run. It is the biggest shot of the game, whatever it might be, a rhythmic play. And I was like, okay. So Tim's kind of the one who in my mind made me think okay, I think I have something here.
That's cool. Equal and opposite to the you bet is the no.
That's my favorite. No.
The sound clips for that segment is awesome.
Devastating the Mike Breen way off is, and I think no is quickly rising up those ranks. Was that born just as a response to because it is It hits you, Ryan. It hits you. You feel it. No.
It's got a little bite to it, doesn't it? I remember what's funny is I remember when I first started doing it, Doris was like, I don't know if I'm a fan. And then she ended up falling in love with it. She was like,
I love it.
I love it. I was like, you know what? I'm glad you do.
The clip package for the show is amazing when it's all the you bets, then all the nopes in a row. It's awesome.
The transition. He'll be like, Jokic for 3. No.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that the cadence of your nose in every day? If Andrea or someone says, hey, honey, can you pass the grape? No.
No. I definitely will throw it in there in regular conversation. And Brian's right. It's all about like the cadence shift there, right? Like, and it's supposed to have a little humor to it. And then also.
For 3?
No. And then
we also do this in the office.
You could sense like a little commentary on shot selection in the no too. Like that exists as well. Like if Cam Thomas comes down and jacks up a 21'2" with 2 defenders on him, he might get in there. He's actually having a great year. But
he is having a great year, but
the Nets against Golden State the other day. I mean,
the Nets
mind blowing.
By the way, wait a second. I was listening to the game last night, and I believe Ruocco was calling the game last night.
Yes.
And now, like 5 hours later, he's in his office in suburban New York City. What is going on? That is impressive hustle.
You know what? I will say, last night was one of the tougher red eyes I've ever had to sweat out making it. Oh my gosh, the arrivals at SFO backs up almost a mile now onto the
holiday
highway.
Week, baby.
Oh, it's crazy. But I had Evie, my 3-year-old daughter, had her little Thanksgiving feast this morning. So I was going to, no matter what, I was getting there off that red eye. So fresh off a ridiculous Nets win, which Jordy Fernandez, they need to start selling player tees of him in the Nets store in Brooklyn. He's that good. Fresh off that, I was at the little Thanksgiving feast at my daughter's preschool.
Well, that's awesome.
We use the no around the office, Ryan. Like whenever it comes up, like, should we give Bontemps a second question in this segment? No.
That's an automatic no. Always.
No.
A whole lot of you bets on that one.
Yeah. So like, and I respect the commercial because we had Andrew Lopez on. I don't know if we're going to do this earlier or later, but Andrew Lopez is sitting in his living room. He was in Indianapolis last night, but he's on the team charter now. So no sweat. No sweat. And Ruocco knows
making that flight.
Ruocco knows team charter travel.
I forever felt connected to MacMahon when he properly outlined the horrors of the Denver airport. That was what I felt.
I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but it is the sneakiest, worst airport in America. Denver,
it's sneaky,
Atlanta.
Malika. I don't think it's sneaky. It's 5 hours away from the city.
And then it's 5 hours to get to the damn
start talking about the New York area airports. No. They have nothing on the Denver airport.
Ruocco and I are on a red eye back from Denver last year after the one of the many games Joel Embiid didn't play. And me, him, Cassidy, and Richard all came back on the same. Oh, and JJ was there too. We all came back on the same flight, and it just took forever. The whole process, getting in the car, getting to the. It's insane how long it takes to get through everything.
It was before I was a TSA pre-check. Yeah,
well, that part was completely
probably
deranged.
Going to be listening to this while they're traveling, and so for all of those out there traveling, we're not meaning to rain on your parade. You will get wherever you are going safely. It's going to go well. If you, like me, have Thanksgiving as your favorite holiday, where family gets, you're going to get there. It's going to be fine. We're raining on everyone's parade with the TSA lines and the worst airport talk. People are going to be scrambling through airports. This is going to make them more anxious. It's making
Malika, I think you've told this story, so I hope I'm not going to private area. Did you not help JJ prepare for his Lakers interview last year on a flight from New York?
Help is a strong word. Help is way too strong of a word. Oh.
Are you getting commission?
You bet. I just got some coffee. Thank you, Davison. So it was during the NBA finals. I did not help him. It was during the NBA finals, and it was a flight from Dallas to Los Angeles. It was the 6 a.m. flight. We had a day off in between games, needing to come back here, dump out a suitcase sort of thing. But JJ was on the same flight and was sitting next to me. He was sitting to my right, and we get on the plane, and he brings, all of his papers and files, and Ryan, you know how JJ is. He's overly prepared for anything he goes into. It's one of the great traits about him and one of the reasons that we knew he was going to be an excellent coach. And he pulls down his tray table, and Dave is sitting in the seat in front of him. And Dave, it's a 6 a.m. flight. So Dave.
How did Dave get upgraded? I mean, what are we talking about here?
Dave was in the first row. It's a 6 a.m. flight, and Dave reclines his seat into JJ's lap, because I don't know where you guys fall on the recline.
No.
I think you can recline.
No,
Everyone has the right to recline.
JJ should have played post defense then. What I mean by that is you use your knee to establish position.
I just want to establish that Malika preferred sitting next to JJ than she did Dave. I just want that on the record.
I just want to establish how poor Dave is at source development. The guy's interviewing the coach of the team you cover on a regular basis, and you're going to freaking recline in his lap.
It's a 6 a.m. flight. I think you have the right to recline. Somewhere Larry David is agreeing with me. You have the right to recline.
I was on a 6 a.m. flight this morning. I didn't recline.
That
is
no reclining.
That is noble, Tim.
Yeah, you get the double recline. So he reclines, and JJ, leans around and says, "I'm prepping for my interview here." And I said, "Don't worry. If you need an extra tray table, I got one. You don't worry about it. We'll figure all this out." So the recline stayed. He was joking. JJ was joking.
He went in to see Rob Pelinka, and he goes, "Here's my concept: LeBron and Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis and LeBron." And they were like,
"You're the ball." It's been a good concept, I will say. It's been a very good concept.
You had your first JJ game, I think, like a week and a half ago or so. I think it was in Golden State.
And he was thrilled to be on Heads with you.
Yes, he was.
So what was that experience like working with your old colleague?
I actually texted Brian because the sound was off, and I said, "Did that actually go okay?" Because JJ looked like he was going to murder them. And he was like, "Oh, yeah, it was all good." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Well, you know what's hilarious? So it's been funny. I've had 3 Laker games already. And it definitely is, I mean, because not only did we work together, but like we got really close. And, Richard, JJ, and I, we became like so close. Richard I've been friends with for years, but we were doing everything together off the court. And so the first time in the meeting, it was weird, like having JJ in the coaches meeting now. And like he was going to try and do a bit where he acted like he was pissed at me and Richard, just to freak out everybody else in the room. And like, he was like, "I can't do it. I just can't do it."
Really? You can't even pretend to be mad at Richard? I find that to be a very easy.
You know what? It is amazing though, because I think, something got clipped off from that interview with JJ. And then like also Richard had a line about like getting used to seeing JJ on the bench at the end of his career. So he's not adapting to him on the coach.
Yes. Yes.
Well, obviously we know like they are both remarkably sarcastic. And so like people don't fully understand how close they are, because the jabs they take at each other are just searing. But yet they went on a family ski trip together last year for Christmas. Like it's both things are true.
Yeah, that is how it is with Richard in studio. I can't believe that you guys said that to each other. You should see the things. I think that people don't understand that Richard spent Thanksgiving at my house, like that sort of relationship that we have here. Searing is a good way to put it.
You know what I'm enjoying this fall, Ruocco and Malika?
What's that?
I'm enjoying like Richard, kind of like going through his long-term job interview to replace JJ on the calling team. And all of a sudden, like his ties are like super tight, and he's like, he's like showing up early. Yes,
No.
Right.
We were never the early. It's I can go with you so far, Ryan.
For the last 2 years, every single game we've done together, I have tied Richard's ties.
Oh my God!
I mean, that doesn't surprise me in the
who
slightest.
ties your ties?
I tie him now, but like if old Mac 10 seed is around, I'm gonna ask him, because the man has like it's the good.
He's got a tight knot. He's got a tight knot.
But it's the thick, like symmetrical. Like sometimes I'll tie him and they kind of look a little.
I tied him at a good knot.
Right? Yeah. No, Mac
knows how to tie a tie.
He doesn't know how to do a whole lot, but
Hendrick Perkins also goes to the school of Dave ties the ties. There's a lot of people who go to that school.
And for the record, Brian, I think my man Richard is nailing that audition. He has been absolutely wonderful, and
he's doing great.
I don't want to lose him, but he deserves that position.
This is like
maybe he does. Maybe he does though.
Hold on, this is like when Rick Carlisle used to pump up Jamal Mosley for head coach job.
Hey, that worked out for Orlando, didn't it?
Oh, it worked out great for Orlando.
It did.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose him either, but he is.
Yeah,
Richard's
it is funny behind the scenes how Malika sometimes is like, we are like 11 seconds before air and Richard is not on the set. And she will like yell sometimes, Richard. Sometimes she'll call him. And like he pushes it further and further. Like there's been times where like literally the red light is coming on and his butt is sitting in the chair. It is.
Yep, this is true. However,
It's a
he was
special
quick
skill.
to remind me that he has never actually missed the show. And I said, well, that's not true. You did miss, we were in sound at the top of the show. The show had started and we were starting in 30 seconds of coaches speaking. He said, but does that really mean I missed the top of the show? So he always, somehow, Richard always makes sure to be there, coffee in hand. And that is one of the many things we appreciate about him. And speaking of the show, I have to run to it.
All right. Thank you,
leave you
Malika.
with this. We have a Big Perks big list of best Thanksgiving sides that is making an appearance today. Do you have any guesses what Kendrick Perkins' #1 side would be?
Sweet
And this is a food connoisseur here, gentlemen.
Sweet potato, like some kind of like sweet potato casserole or something like that.
It's a good guess.
was gonna guess that
As
or
Ruocco
collard
would say,
greens.
no.
I don't, Malika, do you know the answer?
I do know the answer. Would you like the answer?
Stuffing.
Yeah.
Sure. We're not gonna spell it.
S-T-U-F-F-I-N.
All
Stuffing.
right. Bingo. It is that cornbread stuffing,
Listen.
baby. To me, it's
Cornbread
mac
stuffing. Ooh.
oven baked mac and cheese.
Ooh.
Gentlemen, have a wonderful
All right, have a
holiday.
great show,
Happy
Malika.
Thanksgiving.
Thank
Thank you
you,
for
Malika.
having me.
See you soon.
You bet. I'll be back.
Adios, amiga.
Oh, look at you. How you're such
He's
an
very
advanced
versatile. He's very versatile.
language arts. I'm
really
sorry,
knows
Ruocco.
words.
We were derailed.
No, it felt
Ruocco,
connected.
what Christmas Day game have you drawn?
I will be at the Garden for
home game.
Oh, home
Home
game.
home game.
Thank
So
God.
I get to open presents with my little girl, and then head to the Garden for.
I was hoping you
for
were
Wemby.
saying you're going to be at the other garden for a second, where I will be. Unfortunately, I will not have a home game, but
I
I'll not
was-
be far away.
You know what, Tim? My wife's family lives in the Cape, so that was like another good option. But I'm in New York for Knicks Spurs, which I'm pumped about. You guys know, like the Garden on Christmas always has a unique feel to it.
Oh, it's great.
It's just great, and that first game, there's something about it, like energy wise, and then add in that it's Wemby there. I think it's going to be pretty
It'll be
fun.
a lot of fun.
Spurs are playing well too, so.
Oh, tell Bontemps all about it. It's going to be what's the best restaurant in New York? I think that's where Bontemps going to end up having to take me.
Ooh, well, you're talking to the right guy. My favorite restaurant in New York is a place called Mark Forgione. It's in Tribeca. It's unbelievable.
That's a good spot.
Is there a dress code?
No,
Okay, good.
no.
No.
Just just look good, Tim. That's the only dress code.
Well, that part is hard for him to do. So I don't know if that's going to happen.
My favorite restaurant in New York is Kraft in over by Madison Square Park.
Kraft. I don't think I've
Kraft.
ever been there.
Love Kraft.
Solid spot.
Okay. gotta
I
check.
know. I think Bontemps is Carbone, but maybe some like Asian fusion place that I
No, Carbone is my spot. I'm
Carbone.
picking one.
Carbone is great. Tim, are you a big foodie in the city too?
I mean,
Uh,
I like eating good. Oh, you're
Have you-
talking
Neither of you. Have either of you guys been to Fort Charles? Any of you guys?
Yeah, my wife has been to Fort Charles.
Fort Charles is pretty.
My wife is a big time food person.
Okay.
I pay for the meals.
Is it expensive?
that's-
Avon loves it.
Yes, she likes an expensive meal.
The thing about MacMahon is he doesn't eat red meat. He likes fish, right? Like I think almost every meal I've ever been to, you've ordered fish.
Yeah. Little
MacMahon.
salmon, sea bass.
Trying to be a healthy fella.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. It totally belies your personality.
I know. Don't tell
As
anybody.
does the fact
He's
that I was born in
old.
Tarrytown,
He's
New
old,
York.
Ruocco. He's trying
True.
to stay healthy.
It's working out for him then.
I mean,
You know,
I'm-
Ruocco, he claims to have never worn a pair of boots.
No, I don't. That's not true. I have boots. It's not.
Oh, maybe you don't own boots.
No, I have, but I have one pair of boots now. I've had a pair of boots for the last, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years.
All right.
I've worn them
Well,
3
Jackson says he eats healthy so he can drink more beer. Ruocco.
Well, that's the thing. It's like you have to pick and choose. Like, for example, one thing I committed to a few years ago is no arena desserts. Like in the media dining, I have not had a dessert in a media dining room in the arenas for, I think this is my 3rd or 4th straight year doing it. Here's the thing. I can't be doing that and then having a post-game brewski or twoski. You got to pick one or the other.
You know what, Tim? I might adopt that from you. Like, because it's tough, you get, especially like, you're working a game, you're up late, you just feel like you need something. And then like last night at the Nets Warriors game, I had a bowl of sprinkles. I really did. I was like, you know what? I don't feel like going for the whole ice cream. But
Wait a minute. No. Back up. Yeah. You just ate the sprinkles?
Just the sprinkles.
What is the matter with you?
Sprinkles. I know. It was a savage move.
Well, what was the point of that? Were you just trying to inhale sugar?
Basically. I was like,
no wonder you were so fired up during the Nets comeback.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go.
Well, because you're doing a game and you're like engaging your whole body and you're getting into it and you just feel like, gosh, I need something. And I don't drink caffeine. So sometimes I just need like a hit of sugar.
So instead you just took a bottle of sprinkles and just dumped them in your mouth.
Essentially, I took, you know at the Golden State, they have the soft serve ice cream and then they have the rainbow and the chocolate sprinkles to the right.
Yes.
I just spooned out a grotesque amount of rainbow sprinkles into a big bowl. And I just had the bowl next to me, just spooning them.
It's just that is a completely deranged thing to do.
It's psychotic behavior. I agree. I agree.
Because you do a lot of Yankee games, are baseball press box meals better than NBA media room meals?
I actually think by and large they're worse. Now
the Yankee Stadium one is good. At least it was when I used to go to Yankee Stadium regularly for work, which has been a minute.
Shep's, they call it Shep's, Bob Shepard's place after the legendary public address announcer for the Yankees, Bob Shepard. Shep's is good. Yankee Stadium is good. Most of the baseball stadiums, though, I go to, it's so bad that I would just Toronto's not bad, actually. But most places I end up at, I'd rather just like I'll order something off Uber Eats and bring it. NBA wise, like hit or miss. Brooklyn's great, and that's where I'm at most. Like, I don't know how you guys feel. I feel like the meal in Brooklyn's really good.
Brooklyn is not as good as it was back in the day when it started, Rooks. It's fine. When it started, it was the gourmet meal every day. Now it's fine. It's not bad, but it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. What else is good in the NBA? I feel like Golden State's not bad. Yeah.
Listen, Houston improved drastically after Fertitta bought the Rockets. His thing is, I made my money in the restaurant business.
I like
the way he says restaurant.
He does say restaurant. Yeah, he is a Texan through and through. Tillman Fertitta when you hear him talk.
Restaurant business.
The Knicks went from having the single worst media food setup in the league to the single best one, because now you pay $10 and they have basically gourmet. You get a $25 voucher and they have gourmet restaurants.
I'm sure all of our listeners
all around
are so interested in this.
I'm saying I go get this poke bowl every game there, and it's great.
It's a Friendsgiving episode. Food's fine.
Talk about food.
Insider
I'm not going to say
information
where, but I'm soon, early next month, I'm headed to it's got to be a bottom 5 media dining place. So I won't say where, but I think I'll end up doing a pod from there.
I'm pretty confident I know which one you're doing.
There's one of these places cut out all the food.
A couple of them have, and you have to you basically go to the concourse.
Right.
That's what the Knicks did.
They
just made it a $10 voucher.
Yeah, but so it's a little complicated. So Intuit Dome, they have nice media meal now, but Intuit Dome, there's no. You buy stuff with your face. You can't go to Intuit Dome until you have to link an app, and it does facial recognition.
I can get a lot of stuff with this pretty face.
And Intuit Dome, like
Ruocco's just buying some sprinkles with his face. Put his mouth under the faucet and get after it.
There's just these sort of depots where you walk in and you grab the food and you walk out. So there's no waiting in line or whatever. But I could see Ruocco like before, like, a little bit before the game starts, he's like trying to talk to people in the back. Do you guys have any sprinkles? Just sprinkles,
I really
break
can't get
the
over
app.
this. This is one of the wildest things I've ever heard of anyone doing.
I know.
We just get a bucket of sprinkles and just nail it.
Well, it actually, so my high school, we had like a soft serve set up at our lunchroom, and I wouldn't usually have the ice cream, but they have rainbow sprinkles. And I would just get like a cup of sprinkles and I would just have that for dessert in high school. Hadn't done it in years. And last night I thought, you know what?
Just insane.
Second half of a back-to-back.
Let me ask you this.
Nets could be in this game. I'm going to need some
ice cream has a lot of sugar in it. Have some ice cream with it. What are you doing?
Actually, it's probably better than having the bowl of ice cream, in all honesty. Also, I'll say this. Some of these places will just have like a little thing of gummy bears or like Reese's Pieces or like M&Ms.
Chopped up Oreos.
Or chopped up Oreos, nuts. Is it any stranger, Bontemps, if he just got like a thing of M&Ms?
Yes, it is much stranger than that. No one is going, hey, what you say, hey, I'll have some M&Ms. You don't say, hey, give me a bucket of sprinkles. Just shove it in.
Maybe
I'm going to allow it. I'm going to allow it.
Maybe I'm onto something. Like
I just don't think they have any taste.
Sprinkles.
I don't think they have any taste. So
that's
I'm
part
not
of why it's deranged. M&Ms are candy that you're supposed to eat like that. Sprinkles are a topping. Put on ice cream.
I would say they're a garnish.
That's why they're next to the ice cream. Put it on the ice cream.
I like that. A garnish.
Oh man, that's
all right,
amazing.
Ruocco, well, we've really moved basketball commentary forward.
We have.
Thanks for stopping by.
Hey,
appreciate your time. Enjoy your holidays. We'll see you out there on the road.
All right, thanks, guys. Always love listening to you and getting to hop on with you guys. Have a great Thanksgiving.
All right, now joined back from Los Angeles, our guy George Sedano. George, how's it going?
I'm good, guys. Happy Thanksgiving, happy Friendsgiving, and thank you for having me on.
Yes, you are doing this weird part of your schedule where you're calling college football games on the weekends and doing sidelines for NBA games during the week and calling G League games with Bronny.
Yes.
And doing radio.
And doing radio.
And radio,
yes,
naturally.
Yes, and doing radio. December is a pretty crazy schedule. There's an NFL game thrown in there too on ESPN Radio, Niners Bears in about a week or so. There is, let me see what else. There's the NBA Cup. I'm doing the sidelines for that on radio.
Oh, spectacular.
Yeah. And then bowl games, 3 bowl games, one on TV.
What 3 bowl games did you get? I can't wait to hear this.
I've got the New Orleans Bowl on TV, so I'm in a great
I covered the first 2 New Orleans Bowls back in my North Texas beat writer days. Go on.
Nice. Yeah. So New Orleans Bowl, good city. Then on radio, I've got the one in Phoenix that they play at the Diamondbacks Stadium. I think that's called the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, which is like Big 10, Big 12 matchup. And then I've got the Alamo Bowl, which traditionally was a Big 12, Pac-12 matchup, but I don't know what the other power conference will be if it's not the Pac-12 anymore. So, but that's usually a good matchup too. And then there's some NBA games sprinkled in there somewhere. Oh, Christmas in Dallas. I'll be in MacMahon's backyard. I'll be there. I'll have Christmas dinner with MacMahon. How about that? Christmas lunch with MacMahon.
Hey, if you're not heading out after the game, you're welcome to dinner at McMahon.
Well, I will see. I don't know what time my flight is. It is that night, but I don't know how early it is. But I'll double check.
You're not going to his house. You're being very polite. You're not.
I will check. I'll swing by for a drink at least.
I will check and I'll move my flight up earlier to make sure.
Right. Oh no, I think don't think I'm flying out.
Crap, my flight's leaving the second the game is over. I got to get to the airport now.
If Casa McMahon's got tequila, I'm in. You know what I'm saying? Like that's all I need to know.
Hey, you can get a scouting report on McMahon Christmas dinner from Mac 10 seed. He when the Lakers were in town a few years ago, he came by and brought his dad, old Jack Mac.
Okay. Yeah, I'm telling you, if I will double check the flight plan because that game will be over early, right? That's a 1:30 local tip. So we'll be done by like 4. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So you never know. I got to see what the flight plan is.
At this rate, I'm wondering if we're going to flex out Celtics Sixers for something else.
Oh my goodness. I mean,
that on Christmas.
What are we doing
can just
there?
double cover Spurs Knicks and I could just hang out with Corleone Wright and we could just skip the game in Boston.
Well, it's funny. The NFL has a very similar conundrum on Thanksgiving this year. I was looking at that Cowboys Giants. Like, who's watching that? That's like the nap game.
Everybody
for sure.
in Dallas and everybody in New York and everybody across the country.
Listen,
it'll
the
get
one thing
35 million viewers.
I'm taking a nap.
Cowboys are a disaster. They draw ratings. That's actually one thing. There's a lot of people who love hating on the Cowboys.
People like watching the Cowboys lose.
That's when that's when the tryptophan is kicking in for me. That's for sure. And I'll watch Dolphins Packers after that.
The Cowboys managed to win a game.
They did.
There's in a weird one, and now Jerry's talking about, well, I might give Mike McCarthy an extension.
Oh boy,
Jerry knows how to make good radio. You know, he
doesn't know how to run a football team, which is why they haven't made the conference championship game in 30 years. As MacMahon correctly pointed out, the Cowboys are the NBA or the NFL version of the Sixers. And there's a lot of
that was a great
across the board there.
Great comparison. I heard that the other day on the pod. Look at you, McMahon. The cross pollination of sports. I love it.
Nobody acts
incredible take.
When I come up with good ideas and good lines, nobody acts surprised.
That's why he gets this name tag, George. I don't need the name tag. Comes up with big time takes like that.
I don't need these damn participation ribbons like the Lakers raised to the rafters.
I just can't believe that all the shows haven't been saying that yet, because then it's just another way to talk about the Cowboys.
Right. Easy. Well, I think Brian nailed it that day, right? Didn't you say that you'll be on SportsCenter that day having that conversation, that one of you was going to be on and make that comparison? You'd get more SportsCenter hits that way?
Hey, who's going to play more games this year, Dak Prescott or Joel Embiid?
There we go.
I can see it on the scroll bar on the bar at the bottom with Stephen A and Shannon Sharp talking about it.
Yeah. And Chris Russo, of course. I'll tell you what, Stevie, there's no way Embiid plays more games than Dak Prescott. No way.
Pretty good, George.
Man. I was in for Halloween on Around the Horn this year.
That's right. I remember that. Yes, you were quite good.
Thank you.
Yes, you what is your process for selecting a costume for Around the Horn Halloween, and how far out do you have to call your shot?
Well, I would say they kind of make that decision about a month out or so, like early October. And the first year I've done it 3 years in a row. The first year was Scott Hansen of the Red Zone. And that's really more of a cadence thing. You know what I'm saying? And then like using words like.
Did you wear the rimless glasses? Because
I had the glasses. I didn't have, they weren't exact replicas, but I had the glasses.
I wonder, is there a catheter involved with that? How does that make 7 hours a week with no restroom break?
Man's got a good bladder. So I'm not super close with Hansen, although he did text me after he got my number from Pash, I believe, after doing him on, recreating him on Halloween. But Andrew Siciliano and I are close, and he did the Red Zone on DirecTV for many years. And he just says, listen, man, you just got to be very, it's like, when you're in the desert, right? Like you only sip it. You only got a little water. You got to sip it. You know what I mean? You just got to keep the mouth wet, and that's about it. Like, just keep it moving.
Yeah. Were you in character like that whole day? You would only be
whole day. Every time. That's it. Once I got mic'd up, that's it. I was Chris Russo. I was Pat McAfee. I was Scott Hansen. I would not answer to George. I would not answer to anything else. Yes.
I want to tell you that one of my favorite things I've seen on TV in the last 365 days was the 5 things or whatever that Chris Russo can't stand about Christmas. It was on First Take. And I watched it like 4 times over, and I was like in tears with laughter because he's so serious about this. He took the list very seriously. And I just want to say,
he's the greatest ever at that stuff. He's unbelievable.
You can go look it up if you'd like, but I will just tell you that in that things he hates about Christmas, he rips his own mother.
Oh, that's fantastic.
He rips his own mother, who is still with us. It's not like, some distant memory, like rips his own mother present day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Mom. I gotta call it like it is.
He was ripping her. I think he was ripping her eggplant parmesan.
Oh, whoa! Wow.
It's too burnt. Rubbery cheese. I've had it for the last time.
He is actually. If you ever listen to the radio show, and Bontemps can attest to this because he grew up in the area. He's big on travel. He will go into like his travels, like to the detail, kind of like we do when we talk about, go to the bathroom 4 times on a flight from Cleveland to LA. Like he will give you incredible detail on how to travel from point A to point B. That is something he's very into as well.
He is the greatest sports talk radio host of all time, and it's not even a conversation. He's unbelievable.
In all honesty, it's not only is it a lesson to people in media, it's a lesson to people in their careers, whatever your career is. Like, I mean, I'm just, we're just on Friendsgiving. We're not really talking about anything.
We're not talking about the NBA.
We're definitely talking about the NBA today.
He's like 60 something years old, right?
Yeah,
and he gets an entirely new audience. And I mean, like he has his own channel on Sirius. The man was doing fine, but he in his 60s joins First Take one day a week and opens up a whole new chapter of his career.
Right.
I mean, and you're playing him on Around
Halloween.
the Horn.
Right. Yeah.
What are the callers saying about the Lakers on your radio show?
Well, the Denver game is always an interesting one. We talked about that a lot yesterday, and it's just like this disgust and feeling of helplessness every time they play them. And look, I get what JJ said about hey, we're not playing ghosts or whatever it is he referred to. I guess I don't know if I buy that necessarily.
No, they're not playing Ghost. They're playing Joker.
Right.
They'd have a better chance against Ghosts.
Right. That's fair.
They can get the slime from the Ghostbusters, but there is no answer for Joker.
It's the new Lebronto in reverse.
Yeah, there's no way you can tell me that those guys, when they've got a lead and all of a sudden it starts to dwindle, that group of guys who have been generally those same group of guys don't go, oh no, here we go again, right? That's just human nature.
It's Lebronto in reverse. That's
right.
What LeBron did in Toronto for that DeMar and Kyle team for years. And it's now what Jokic has done to the Lakers for years.
And listen, Russ helped the Lakers lose a whole bunch of games when he was there, and he helped them lose that one.
Yes, that's a good point. Although, did you see there's this video on the internet, it's like Zapruder film, of him allegedly calling AD soft. Did you see that video or no?
I didn't. Certainly the world saw the world saw his farewell after he hit that dagger 3.
Yeah.
George, what is the general,
obviously, boom, B.
bigger picture? What is sort of the general sentiment about the Lakers and where they sit in LA in terms of what the overall expectations are for the year, especially after a decent start?
Well, I think for them, if they could just get out of the play-in area and be in that top 6, I think people will take their chances on a matchup, right? That's kind of what they're hoping for. To me, that's the reasonable fan, right? And there is, I think, as unreasonable as sometimes people can be on the internet, and they have such a large fan base that it feels like they're more unreasonable. I think that there is definitely a percentage of the audience that feels like, hey, if we can just get in the top 6, we'll take our chances based on the matchup. And then
that's seen as a success if they're top 6.
Yeah, they're top 6.
And opposite side of the bracket from Denver.
Correct.
Yeah,
because they feel like if they're on the opposite side of the bracket from Joker, that maybe they can find their way, kind of like they did a couple years ago, to a conference finals if they get the right matchups. They feel fairly confident against an OKC team. Now, I think that could be a little overconfidence from last year's team. That's not this year's team with Hartenstein and, in theory, a healthy Holmgren who has gotten bigger, stronger, and better.
Listen, if the little ribbon could, the defensive it could come down to Friday. I believe it's either Friday or next Tuesday. I think it's Friday when the Thunder play the.
It's Friday, baby. It's a group of death elimination game.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I think that there is a sense of, half glass full is, we can get to the finals if we don't find a way to get to Denver. I mean, I guess I think that there's another percentage of the audience that's always looking for a trade, which I think that they look as currently constituted. I don't think they can get to the finals. I think if they make a move, look, there's a lot of teams we can make a case for. If they make a move, could find themselves there. But I think that they definitely need to make a move if they want to be a serious contender.
All right, George. Well, thank you for stopping by on this holiday week. Enjoy your G League game this week. And what college football game are you doing this weekend?
I am doing a traditional ACC rivalry for once. I am doing Duke Wake Forest, the Battle of the Nerd Schools in North Carolina. Here we go.
Little Tobacco Road action. Say hi to the flag for us.
Duke is trying to win what they call the Big Four Championship, which is beat the other 3 Carolina schools. All they have left, obviously, is Wake Forest because they've beaten NC
Why don't
State.
they just call that the Tobacco Road Championship?
They should, but I don't know. I mean, listen, I'll ask. How about that next time when I'm there on Saturday?
If you say Tobacco Road, everybody knows who you're talking about. If you say Big Four, people are like, what?
Yeah, what does that mean? I'm with you. The branding matters there. So I will make the suggestion to both schools and see if they can convince North Carolina and NC State to kind of buy in as well. I'll let you know. And MacMahon, I'll check my flight and we'll text you if it's a late flight. If it's a late flight, get the tequila on ice ready because I'm in.
Listen, let us know if we need like security. If you need like
no security
over here.
Let us know. I'm not Bontemps. I don't need security. I'm good.
All right, thanks, George.
All right, see you guys.
Sorry.
Thanks for stopping by. Oh, sorry, I stepped on your adios, amigo.
That's okay. I've had a bunch of them.
All right, now joining us from the Valley, it's our favorite Valley girl, Ramona Shelburne.
Like, how you guys doing?
I love it. I love when she goes, I just do it just to get her to do the Valley girl.
I don't mind doing the Valley girl. I did grow up here.
Ramona,
okay, now I have to go back serious.
Earlier in the podcast, we said, people in their like early 20s like refer to folks like us as quote from the 1900s.
Oh wow, really? That's a thing.
Like a Valley girl, that's from the 1900s. Like that's.
I don't even know that people even know what we're talking about. Like a Valley girl, like the movie, the cultural reference is Clueless. Okay, so you have to have seen Clueless. What year did that come out?
95, not even 96, 95.
96. Wow. So I was in high school in 1995. I was almost through El Camino Real. Yeah, Jackson, our producer, was not born. I just had this discussion with somebody. We were talking about LaMelo Ball, and we're writing about Lonzo Ball and LaMelo Ball, and LaMelo is, so like Lonzo's 26, 27, and LaMelo is like 22. And there's a really big gap between those two because like Lonzo would have been born in an era where social media was not omnipresent. Like he had some normal years of his life where he wasn't like in front of the camera for everything. But like LaMelo, everything that kid has ever done was on social media. Like if you just look at when he was born and what's happening, and there's this generation of players now that are 19 to 24-ish who like their whole lives have been lived, with Facebook or with Twitter or whatever. It's
for them, it's with Instagram. And LaMelo is the epitome of an IG all-star.
Yeah. And also, I mean, he was on a Facebook reality show. We forget about that.
Yeah, Living Lithuania, right? Well, I don't even, what was the name of this show?
Ball in the Family.
Right.
I watched a lot of those episodes.
Living Lithuania.
Let's pitch that. Living in Lithuania. No, it was Ball in the Family. It was a good title.
Yeah, Ramona did that one story that, just illustrated. Well, you did several stories about the Ball family, but just kind of reported on how Lonzo was getting like ripped off by the big baller brand people.
Yeah, that was a huge success.
That was one of my good. That was one of the ones like you feel like a good report. Like you're like, I actually did some real reporting here, and like I felt like I'm on the phone with the lawyers, and we're on the phone with Chris Buckle and Paula Levine, and we were like, when are we gonna go? And you have to give one more chance to respond. I mean, it was like I felt like I was in a movie getting that out.
It is
most
weird.
of the stuff we do is just sports, right? So every once in a while you get one of those.
I met LaMelo when he was like 13.
Oh wow.
Like 10 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, I met him when he was 15 when I first did a story on Lonzo.
Oh no, maybe it was when he was 15.
Yeah, like 15. And he was just this little punk kid. He was like skinny with like big hair and he was like, ha, he was just a little kid in the background. And
he was definitely more interested. He was more comfortable in the spotlight than Lonzo was.
Always.
Always. Say.
Yeah. By the way, here are his last 3 games.
Yeah.
Went over Detroit, 35 points, 9 assists, 1 steal. Was that the game he was benched?
Benched, yeah.
Okay.
No, I think that was in Brooklyn. I think that was the Brooklyn.
Okay, so the Brooklyn game, he got benched. He had 12 points.
Yep.
Okay. Then they play Detroit. He responds to the late game benching with 35, 6 rebounds, 9 assists. Then they play at Milwaukee. They lost by 6. He goes for 50, 5 rebounds, 10 assists. 17 for 38 in that bad boy.
38 shots?
38 shots. It took
That's
17.
Kobe. Those are Kobe numbers.
Kobe would love this line.
Yeah.
Then against Orlando, they lost by 11 earlier this week. 44 points. 9 rebounds, 7 assists. So over the last 3 games, I'll figure out he's averaging like in the 40s.
Yeah.
And just, but by the way, he's fouled out of 4 games so far this season. Now, the last one, in all fairness, was in overtime.
Okay.
Still,
that's a lot.
He's averaging like 4-point-something fouls per game. Let me see.
That was part, I believe, of what Charles Lee was talking about when he didn't play at the end of the game, right? Is that he's taking cheap fouls that he doesn't need to take, and it's causing him not be able to play in the important parts of the game.
Well, and he leads
the NBA in total points.
Okay.
Total field goal attempts. Total 3-point attempts. And total fouls.
Well, and he leads the league in fourth quarter scoring by a pretty considerable margin, which would be awesome if the Hornets weren't out of the game in a lot of those fourth quarters.
Right.
Like his 50-point game, it got late in like the last minute, but they were down double figures most of that fourth quarter. And it's just like he's, again, some Hornets fans didn't like when I said he's an extremely talented empty calories player, but nothing I've seen so far this season has changed my mind.
Well, they're at the beginning of trying to really build this thing from the ground up. And I think he is one of those foundational pieces, but you have to decide if that's the foundation you want to build around. I mean, obviously they gave him a max deal, right? And he's putting up video game numbers. I mean, you'd be very happy if you have him on your fantasy team.
Yes.
So far this year, that was a good pick. But leading the league in total points also tells me he's played a lot of games, which means the injury issues have been okay this year so far. But there's a sort of like wildness to LaMelo on the court, off the court, just his vibe. He's loud and kind of wild and stuff, but that's what makes him great. And so you just have to harness that. You have to, when you have players who have that level of creativity. That's always what his dad would say about him too. He said LaMelo can be the best of all of them because he's not afraid of anything. And I remember back when he was 15, he said he's like Westbrook. He's a scoring guard. I mean, that's his profile. And I think Lonzo can be a coach one day. Lonzo is just incredible basketball IQ, a really good defender, probably more than we realized coming into the league. And now it looks like he's going to make his second season debut.
Yeah, you had that story today. He's coming back off the wrist injury. He just had come back with sort of a triumphant return after being out 2.5 years, and then he hurt his wrist.
Yeah.
After that,
and he didn't even realize it wasn't even hurt. It's like he fell bracing himself on he took tried to go for a steal and he fell, and it was one of those ones like he knew it hurt at the time, but I don't think he thought it was serious. And then they did an MRI and it was like, oh yeah, you got a grade 1, grade 2 tear, and don't do anything. They had to cast it for 10 days or so.
Well, watching the Hornets play is kind of like watching like a tipsy Celtics game. Like with the Celtics maybe just had a little, because they come over half court and the ball goes flying up. But when you watch the Celtics, typically their threes, they come off passes. Like you see them, they throw 3 or 4 passes. They catch the other team in rotation, open 3. They're organized defensively. The Hornets, they have the same mandate, but not as many passes, a little bit, farther out, a little more wild.
Maybe he's on one foot, maybe it's the right foot, maybe it's the left foot, maybe he's fading away. The guy's taking wrong foot, one-legged.
But he makes them.
Threes from the logo. And sometimes they go in.
Like I said,
the whole team
sort
of follows that mantra. They chuck it.
Yeah.
They chuck it. They have the same concept. Charles Lee coming from Boston. So, he was the assistant with Joe Mazzulla
and
last
really
year.
coming from the Mike Budenholzer tree, which is really what he's from. I mean, he coached with the Celtics last year, but he's a long time Bud assistant. And obviously, Bud has always been someone that's valued the 3-point line and spacing and spreading things out. But look, like LaMelo, obviously he's a huge talent, but again, it's what MacMahon said is really the question. He's got to prove he's a guy that you can have out there and is going to drive winning. And for whether you want to say the Hornets have been, it's been some of it out of his control or not, the bottom line is to this point, he has yet to prove he can do that. And that's, what part of this year is, like Ramona said, him being on the court is a good stat because he's barely played the last couple of years because of injury. And then beyond that, it's all right. Can he start to make some meaningful strides in these other categories? And, we'll see where that lands in a couple of months.
So Momo, let me ask you this. So right now, right outside crypto.com arena, they're in the middle of this massive renovation. They're like tripling the size of the plaza outside the arena. They're closing off Chickern Court. And I think they're like making room for more statues, right? So we've had some statues last couple of years. 2 Kobe statues have come up, and now we announced the Pat Riley statue.
Yeah.
Is coming.
I love that.
Are there more Laker greats who they're making room for more statues in this plaza? Who else should have statues? Are there statues that should be coming?
I mean, you already have Kareem, Magic, and Kobe, several Kobe's, right? Shaq, Jerry West. So, I mean, does James Worthy get a statue?
I mean, if Pat Riley gets a statue, why should James Worthy not? James Worthy was standing side by side.
What about Phil Jackson?
Phil Jackson. If we're going to start giving them to coaches, if you give
Pat
to
Riley,
if
you give that to times with the Lakers as Phil Jackson.
That's right.
Wilt.
Elgin Baylor.
I mean, if you're giving one to Wilt, you're giving one. If you're giving one to Wilt, you're giving one to LeBron, right?
Yeah, I mean, Elgin Baylor.
I think LeBron gets one. He won a championship. Hold on one second, guys. Hold on. Can you guys hear Daniel banging on the door?
No.
Okay, so we'll just ignore it. Okay.
Yes.
Unless you want a Daniel appearance. All right, hold on. You guys want him to come in? Hold on. There he is.
Hey, Danny.
What's up, buddy?
Want to show him your back handspring? Back walkover. Okay, let's see it. Those are the dog beds we have, by the way, the human dog beds. I should be an endorser for them. Look, here he goes.
He's a gymnast. Yes.
Oh,
Daniel's a gymnast. Yeah.
Holy cow. I don't know how you did that.
Yeah.
That's pretty. I mean, I would hurt my neck just watching it.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. All right. So Phil Jackson, Elgin Baylor. I agree with that. Elgin Baylor, right? Elgin Baylor.
Taylor Swift. Did she get a statue?
How many more dates is she going to play there? Last time she was playing the stadium, she didn't play crypto. So I don't know if that's going to get it done.
That sounds good.
All right, Ramona. Thank you very much. Enjoy your Thanksgiving.
All right. Hey, Danny, say thanks. Happy Thanksgiving.
Enjoy your Thanksgiving. You
too, Daniel.
Thanks, Danny.
All right. Now joining us from New York, Cassidy Hubbarth, you're our 11th guest. Jackson's been in 3 different locations, but we're so happy that you're wearing your ESPN name tag.
Good boy.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Would you like to supersize that?
Could we have a shake with this pod?
Wait, I don't know if the young kids even know what supersize was. Remember that whole?
Probably not. Probably not.
I just aged myself.
We're the olds. Don't worry about it.
How big those
that's been a theme from this podcast, is talking about how old we are. Well, all of us, how old all of us are.
Learned that the youngsters refer to us as, what is it, the 1900s or whatever?
People from the 1900s.
The 1900s.
And it's like when Wendy catches a little crumble of some youngster pop culture, he holds on to it. So we've heard a lot about
it. My eyes are wide open.
Got that Riz, Wendy.
Listen, don't get me started on brain rot.
There's one person right now on this pod who has Riz, and it ain't any of the people who are normally on the pod.
I used to be young, and I used to think I was cool. Not anymore.
You still have W Riz.
Not anymore. What happened to us, guys? My knees hurt. It's okay.
Your knees hurt.
I did try that what is that? The Normatec boots that LeBron's always like.
Yeah. Well, I tried the Normatec. So Normatec and Nike have a shoe that they're coming out with that like heats up to like, well, first off, how was your Normatec? Since I am friends with the guy who owns Normatec, I'm happy for the free promo. How was the Normatec leg
They're
sleeves?
very relaxing. I don't know if they're working. I mean, we'll see. It's good for, I guess, I don't know. I'm 40, so I guess any recovery I can take, I'll take. But I also have like a Normatec like thing that I wear on my back. This is really getting after it.
I was going to say McMahon needs that.
Plane, it's like a heated kind of like vibrating like massager for my lower back for long flights. I'm gonna send it to you. It's a travel size. It's a game changer.
Give me a call. Like let's work something out.
That might be the first time we'll all take product, including McMahon on the pod.
Listen,
I'll take that.
I will, because I'll just give my man Anthony Katz, who is the founder of Hyper Ice, who owns Normatec. I'll just give him a free shout out right now, and we'll just say,
hey,
I have these great Normatec products.
Listen, I could use some Normatec too. I'll send it along.
I just turned 40. Thanksgiving Hoop Collective Edition brought to you by Normatec. What does that sound like?
Yeah,
that sounds great. Let's go. Let's go. I also just turned 40. I need it.
I'll pose in my Skims while using that Normatec product.
that we're not going to do.
I think we're going to take a step back from. We're going to take a step back from that. No, so
I mean, if we can age like LeBron, I'll take it, right?
I use the Normatec Nike crossover. There's these shoes that Normatec makes, and it like heats up your foot, like your Achilles tendon area, to like 150 degrees. Like you can't believe it because it's battery powered. You can walk around with it
like a well-done Achilles.
I gotta tell you, first off, it feels really nice. And when I took it off, I had it on for like 20 minutes, and I put on my shoes. They were loose because the size of my foot actually got smaller. So like it was like, wow, this is like, it's pretty good tech. I don't know, like I think like when they become prevalent, like we will see guys like coming into games. Like I don't know if it'll be the fashionable thing to like walk into the arena in these like, because they're like super expensive Nike shoes.
I don't know. I think more people, I mean, as someone who used to pay attention to the shoe game, I'm seeing a shift more into comfort than style.
Well, that's all travel. I don't care if you're flying or if you're driving.
Oh, she's talking about just like the normal, like the sneaker game.
Yeah, like Ons and Hokas are like cool. And like,
isn't Zendaya endorsing Ons? Isn't that her? Isn't that what she's endorsing?
Look at you dropping a Zendaya.
I just have seen the commercial.
Well,
and I wouldn't have guessed she was endorsing like running shoes in the past.
MacMahon knows that, I have like 7 to 10 different pairs of Ons.
I thought you only had one. It seems like we're in the
Are
same
we just trying to get a sponsorship deal now?
Because listen, hey, I will
Cassidy,
say this.
Again, we're at 7. We're at hour. I don't know where this is going to run in the podcast when their great producer Jackson spends a billion hours putting it together. But we're in hour 7 of interviewing.
Do we need to like put a link together and try to get people to like, hey, we have your Christmas shopping list.
Hey, by the way, fellas, we got
my link in my profile.
We got a true national star here on the pod because the other day I was watching Bulls Bucks, and what do I see during the first commercial timeout? But a State Farm commercial with Caitlin Clark and Jake from State Farm, and one Cassidy Hubbarth in the State Farm commercial with Caitlin Clark. Pretty big deal.
Just unbelievable, Cass.
Rookie moves. I don't know. I think I don't know how that happened. I lucked into it, and I'm not going to say any other way.
Tell it. Forget about Caitlin. Is Jake from State Farm is cool in person?
The nicest. Like and I think about this. I actually said this to one of our like ESPN suits who was there, and I was like, I wonder like if he can be like a normal person when he's out, or like everyone's just he has to always represent the brand. And this person was like, well, so do you when you're out. You always have to represent ESPN.
Oh yeah, he's like,
But I'm
excuse me,
but I'm not
Miss Hubbarth.
Cassidy from ESPN. Like Jake
according to
State Bar.
paragraph 11 of your contract, you must always represent the brand. Do not wear sweatpants on the plane.
It's like that girl Flo in the Progressive commercials. It's
all
just like she
those-
walks
all
around as
those-
Flo from the Progressive commercial.
All those insurance,
or the guy from the Verizon ad.
Right. Or
no,
Mayhem.
The Mayhem from the Allstate ads. Like,
Oh,
you know,
yes. Yeah.
Those guys are set for life. For life.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Flo is like got to be worth tens of millions of dollars.
Has to, right?
She's like I actually read a story about her like about a year ago. Like, you know, she like sat down for an interview and like, you know, gave an interview about her life, and like I mean, it's amazing.
At this point though, like she can't, I saw her in like this indie movie about Jackson Hole on a flight from New York to LA, which was very good. But I saw her in the movie. I'm like, Flo, what you doing in here? Like, I don't believe you. Like,
Flo just wants to live, Cass. She
Gonna
just
bring
wants
up
to live.
bundling, or what's the deal?
How was Caitlin Clark as an actress
She was great. I mean, look, like, what has her life been these last 3 years? I mean, I know she's like a supernova.
It's not even the last 3 years, Cass. It's the last like 9 months, because like,
right,
okay,
the
so
last 9 months.
So a year ago, her season was starting, but from like January through the summer, like crazy.
It's been, yes, and I forget who mentioned this recently, how like women's basketball has the hardest schedule by far. You know, especially
it was,
what she
Asia
did
Wilson.
going straight from the tournament, you know, into the draft, into the season. And if she would have played, you know, in the Olympics, like that would have been, but she needed it. She needed that rest. And she was great. I mean, the thing about Caitlin is that I think what's so impressive about her is that she's just very even, like emotional and passionate on the court, but like, you know, like she knows who she is, and she has like a quiet confidence off the court. And, you know, like she was lovely. She was lovely, but I could tell that she was ready for like some downtime.
And
By the way,
rightfully so.
Cass, again, I don't know where, I guess we're going to make sure that this comes after the Ruocco segment. So Ruocco was on earlier today.
Yes.
And he said that at the Nets Warriors game last night, he decided to just inhale a bowl of sprinkles. What is your thoughts on that?
He wanted
just came back from Disney too, so I'm sure he's also like has all of the sweets in him. I don't know. I don't even know how to process what you just said. Why would he do that?
Neither
Bontemps
did we.
was really upset by this. I'm not really. I'm just like, oh, that's kind of interesting. But Bontemps was really set, like on tilt.
And I just think it's insane. It's just insane behavior.
It is. It's insane behavior.
What are we doing here? What are we doing? You can't just do sprinkles. Sprinkles are our topic.
But like, what was the point? Like, there had to be a connection to the
He
broadcast.
wanted
You don't
sugar
just
and
like
didn't. No,
3
he
days
He wanted
sprinkles
sugar.
for no
Looked at
reason.
looked at the soft serve ice cream at Chase Center. Looked at the sprinkles next to it and said, "I'm just going to have some sprinkles." Just
Is this
did that.
on the air?
No.
It was at
Way to a
halftime.
seat.
Or
No,
halftime.
I think it was
halftime.
Oh, he just needed a jolt of energy.
Yeah.
You know, we're East Coast people, like doing the games West Coast. Rough. These last couple of weeks, I've been having these 10 p.m. Eastern starts. It's been rough for me.
Tell me about it. I agree.
Tell me
I'm on the West Coast. I try to stay on East Coast time, but like it's a struggle.
And then he just never knows what time anything is.
I don't.
That's true.
I think that might qualify as the
Nothing
first
makes me feel dumber than having to subtract and add 3.
Oh, we are speaking Windy language. I was going to say, I think we might have had kind of the first Windy Sleep update of the whole Friendsgiving pod.
I just want you to know, but I've taken several naps today in between our guests to
that's
try
good.
to hang out with this marathon.
Listen, this is a week made for napping. This is a great nap week.
Yeah.
Great nap week.
Wait. Okay. How many Thanksgiving food conversations have you guys had on this?
Not that many. Not that many.
We haven't actually talked about Thanksgiving food at all.
You guys
No,
are
we
like
did a little
the
bit
Kai
with the-
Cenat of basketball podcasts right now. You guys are doing like the mafia-thon of basketball. You guys know what I'm talking about? Any of you?
I'm familiar with
I know who Kai
that the
Cenat
gentleman
is.
exists.
Yeah.
It's
I know-
you know, Twitch.
Yeah, I know he's like famous.
I'm doing this for your younger audience.
But I also know
They
what Twitch is. I know what Kai Cenat is. I don't know anything else that's going on with what you just
He's
said.
live, I think, for a whole month.
A whole
in a
month?
house, and he keeps bringing in guests.
What
Wait,
about
like 24 hours a day?
Correct.
Like what
He
does he
even
do?
showers, but he showers in like
Oh.
swim trunks, and he brings up. He had Rich Paul on the other day. He had Andre Iguodala.
What does he do when he needs to visit the lavatory?
Or sleep?
And there's I don't know, honestly. I haven't watched. I've only watched clips on social media. But yeah,
we have had a lot of restroom talk for some reason because Sedano, we were discussing, somehow we got from, it's about Thanksgiving, but we got to his Halloween costumes, and one was Scott Hansen. So then we're talking about like how you handle a 7-hour TV appearance, so we've had an unfortunate amount of potty talk.
a lot of bathroom talk.
A lot of potty talk on the pod.
I can't let my daughter listen to this, but I tell her no potty talk ever.
That's right. No, nothing makes my son, my 7-year-old son, he's actually 7 on Friday. My son laugh harder than bathroom humor.
Of course.
It is undefeated for 5 to 8-year-old boys. And he also watched Home Alone for the first time this week.
First time.
And nothing makes him laugh harder than the paint cans. When he swings the paint cans. I mean, he loves watching people get injured, and he loves bathroom humor. I mean, what else?
Are you gonna let him watch the better Home Alone, as in Home Alone 2, anytime?
He subsequently has watched Home Alone 2, and in fact considers that his favorite of the two. If you gave him a choice.
It's the superior one. Plus, my middle school's in that.
Oh, look at you.
Uh-huh. My middle school's in a lot of movies.
Were you in that movie? Why? Because you were.
I was in actually Home Alone 3, not with Macaulay Culkin.
I'm sorry. I'm going to have talk about throwing in just a random fact. I haven't really been in that community commercials. I've been in 3. And,
I walked out a door, but I did get paid $500 to walk out a door at my middle school.
Walk out doors,
burying the lead.
1990, whatever that was, to walk out a door for $500. It's pretty awesome. Take that.
How many takes?
Wait, Jackson said the Home Alone 3 was the first one he saw.
Listen,
Jackson
knows
is 5 years
Home Alone
old.
3.
Jackson is 5 years old.
He only knows Home Alone 3.
That's as someone who's in the credits, that's flaky.
So you're in the credits. You are in the credits. I could slow down the credits.
No, I'm not. I just said that.
Oh, okay.
I'm in the credits as an extra. I was also in a movie called Hanukkah Bush.
Called what?
The Hanukkah Bush.
Were you a child? Did you have aspirations to be a child actress?
No. It's just my town is very picturesque. Evanston, shout out Evanston, Illinois. And there was some movies shot there. And I had a line in that one. Can you pass the glue? Nailed it.
All right, Cass. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for gracing us with all your
Am I the
credits.
last?
No.
Oh God.
No, we saved the worst.
Trust me. We're saying the same thing. Thanks, Cass. Enjoy your holiday. Now, and I want to say, Dave McMenamin, as you join us from the Footprint Center in Phoenix, Arizona, ahead of this big NBA Cup group of death matchup between the Lakers and the Suns. Listen, man, I want you to know you are the 12th and final guest.
Oh, wow.
Max,
we're in hour 8, buddy. Hour 8.
All right.
The dirty dozen.
I also want you to know that earlier today we had a Syracuse grad on who has claimed he's worn his last tie, and he's on TV. And so it's so appropriate that you are dressed as a professional that they meet you at Syracuse.
And your tie-tying has come up multiple times on the pod.
Yes, you've actually been mentioned 5 times on the pod.
Can you
come up a lot.
Throw this person under the bus, please, so I can riff on their fashion choices?
Put it this way: it's somebody who you heavily criticized after last year's Friendsgiving.
Drew Carter.
There's so many. Oh, Drew Carter.
Carter.
Oh boy. Okay, got it.
He said he's worn his last tie.
Yeah.
He's worn his last tie.
That tracks. That really fits the whole vibe he's going for.
Are you
not the
excited
Big
for
Ten
NBA
vibe,
Cup
that's for sure.
group of death action? This is an elimination game tonight.
Can I say this?
It's actually not, because the Lakers have never lost a cup game. They're still alive. I take it all back.
I I mean, as concerned as you can be for a team in late November when it's an 82-game season, I think the Lakers are in for a rough week.
Ooh. We have talked about this with other people on the pod already, but you mentioned the Denver game, and you were front and center for the Lebronto experience for several years.
Yeah.
Does this remind you in reverse of that at this point?
Well, if we talk about things I've never seen before in a basketball game, since or before that moment, you have LeBron twirling the ball at the three-point line, toying with Serge Ibaka before hitting a three, and then that wild attempt by Nikola Jokic, wildly, amazingly impressive attempt by Nikola Jokic at the end of the third quarter buzzer. He asked the Nuggets teammate, yeah, exactly, just put it in front of me, and he volleyball sets it from almost the out of bound marker all the way to the other hoop. So on that level, yeah, it's stuff we've never seen before. And the Nuggets completely on the Lakers. All the talk that we had going into that game was we regrouped from that Magic game, and man, it was disappointing, but we are focused and we want to prove. Rui Hachimura saying that, we have different camaraderie this year than we had in the past, or different chemistry. I want to quote him correctly. It looked the same old beat down to me. The only different thing that we saw this time was a guy who, rarely played that well while wearing the opposite uniform, having an effective game at Crypto.com Arena and Russell Westbrook.
That's spoken like a guy who's taken a lot of long. I didn't hear what he said.
No,
Russ got a little jab in there at Westbrook. A little jab.
Yeah,
That's feisty today. Very feisty.
I just praised him. What are you talking about?
That's spoken like a guy who's taken a lot of long rides out to Denver International Airport after Laker losses. Is what that sounds like. That's a long. There's nothing more defeating than that sign on the side of the road when you get on Pena Boulevard and it says Denver Airport 11 miles, and you're like, you got to be kidding me.
Did you guys see Russ's Instagram post after that? Wendy, I'm sure you did. You're a big Instagram guy.
I did not see it. No.
I believe it was afterwards. It's just Russ kind of doing a little strut. Kendrick Lamar's "Not Like Us" is the music, and the caption is 3 letters. LOL.
Oh.
LOL.
Yeah, Westbrook changed sides in the middle of the rivalry. So as he's
and he changed that game in the third quarter. He obviously Jokic was brilliant. Michael Porter Jr. continues to play like a Hall of Famer against the Lakers and the Lakers alone. But Russell Westbrook's energy in the third quarter was tremendous.
You mentioned the volleyball set. Here's the thing about Jokic. Everybody knows he played water polo as a kid. He also apparently played a lot of volleyball, which can partially explain his 80-foot.
No, that was.
I just don't know how he didn't hurt his wrist.
It wasn't.
That was crazy.
That thing was like a spike.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. That was like a serve where you serve it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it was.
Well put. And the accuracy of it was tremendous.
Unbelievable.
Better looking shot than half the contestants who win the third quarter contest in between getting ready for the fourth quarter to start to shoot from half court. And this was
Is it the most impressive missed shot you've ever seen?
Yeah.
Because I'm prepared to nominate it.
Has to be. It was an 80-foot spike.
What comes to mind? The Nick Young thinking it's in, turning around.
I mean, that's iconic.
That's impressive in terms of funny.
Yeah, that's iconic.
The dunk that LeBron almost had at the end of Game 7 of the 2016
the Gordon Hayward miss is.
That's a great one.
That's pretty high up there too.
We are an NBA podcast, but sure, I'll give you that.
Barely. Today we are not.
Today we're just a podcast.
When Ja cleared Kevin Love and missed the dunk.
Oh, that's another.
Some of the miss. There's definitely some missed dunk contestants in that conversation, I guess. But
well, breaking news, Dave, we got breaking news from Front Office Sports. Oh boy,
big one here.
Big news.
Big news. Sources: ESPN has re-signed Tim Bontemps to senior writer. Front Office Sports has learned.
What a moment.
You know
What
what's
a
so
moment.
crazy? This podcast has been so long that Bontemps started negotiations at the beginning of it, finished negotiations in the middle, and signed it, and it was leaked to the media by the end of it.
It's happened all day today, all day.
Oh my God!
Been a very long pod.
Congratulations to
Brian
Bontemps.
only got confused several times about the time, Dave.
Can we get confirmation of this, Bontemps? Is this
I don't address leak stories. Like the Sixers, I don't talk about leaks. Keep it in house.
Well, if Bontemps got
Unfortunately, it's a 10-day deal.
I want to trade. I'm gonna make a trade demand of Bontemps.
Well, Tim, I think like Zion, you have a cuttable contract. So
trust me, we all do.
Expiring.
I would love to have the Zion contract. That would be good. That'd be okay. Give me that for a couple days. I'll be all right.
Oh my gosh!
Congrats to the senior writer amongst us. Congrats.
Oh, there's
excuse me, sir.
There's two.
Excuse me, sir.
I apologize. I thought there were four. I thought there were four. I don't know.
I mean, all I know is I believe McMenamin and MacMahon started at ESPN before I did. So I mean, that would make them more senior.
The guy with all the gray in his beard ain't a senior. I'm just trying to make it like college, where once I finally become a senior, it took me a while to get there.
Yeah, super senior. That's right.
I stayed for a while.
Super seniors we are over here. That's right.
All right, Dave. Thank you. Enjoy your holiday. Enjoy your trip to Utah. You're gonna wake up in Utah on Thanksgiving. I think you should just stay all day. That's what I would do.
To happy Thanksgiving to the two seniors and the guy who hangs the juniors.
There you go. Tell them I sent you.
All right, and we're signing. Oh, by the way, Dave, join us as we sign off from this Hoop Collective Friendsgiving podcast. Thank you to Jackson, who
God bless Jackson, who's got to work for
God knows how he's editing this. And by the way, this is your Wednesday and Friday podcast. That's it. You're not getting any more until next
people
week.
Won't get to this part of it until like Sunday.
Yeah, this is gonna be on Friday.
Yeah. Thank you to Dave. Oh my gosh.
Here,
Dave,
I got the list. You want the list?
Thank you to Andrew Lopez. Thank you to Noah Eagle, Drew Carter, Michael Wright, Kevin Pelton, Malika Andrews, Ryan Ruocco, George Sedano, Ramona Shelburne, Cassidy Hubbarth, Dave McMenamin, Jackson Ogello, our producer, Tim Bontemps, Tim MacMahon. Enjoy your Thanksgiving weekend. And
I'd like to thank Bobby Marks too.
Oh, Bobby Marks. Oh my gosh. I set you up. I put you on this tee for the Adios Amigos, and you
had to help Bobby out because you left him out.
I appreciate you, Bobby Marks.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And Adios Amigos.